Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The REMINGTOM podcast is live. We are here again, and what you can see is happening is this is not a very good encore for the Christmas Day game for the Spurs for Wembenyama. Wembenyama's not necessarily playing bad tonight. He's excuse us, chat. Little REMINGTOM sick days. We can't even blame it on the winter right now because winter just doesn't even exist in the Midwest anymore. It's literally raining. It's just been raining all day. A couple of years ago, this would have been, a massive snowstorm. Chat, we might have been out of school on a day like this. And I guess it's Christmas break, so technically we would have been out of school anyways. But just the idea of how much rain we've had today. And I guess we could just look up how many inches of rain we're going to get. But, for that much snow, it might have, and I guess at this point in the day too, wouldn't really affect the school hours. But this level of snow in an area that could affect the school hours would be clutch back in the day. So we're fortunate that global warming didn't quite cross this path when we were in school. We still got the snow days and we still got the cancellations, and we still were able to benefit from those type of things. But as of right now, it's just been all rain. So, we'll take it as well, too. That means no shoveling. It means, unfortunately, we don't get called out of work as well, too. I guess that would be a benefit. Not really, though, because, got bills to pay. But it's looking like some medical bills as well, too, soon. But going to have to get some overtime. But, that would be the one, I guess, benefit of the snow days. But as of right now, I don't know. I guess still seasons are changing. I don't know if it's that. But either way, a little a sick day for the Spurs as well, too, like we're saying. And give us a second, chat. But this was the most obvious, I think, spread that was too big. Pause. And I didn't see a ton of the lines for what today's games were, but I did see the Spurs one, and they were -7.5 on the road in Brooklyn. And like we're saying, they just played on Christmas as well, too. So just the emotional roller coaster, the emotional peak you're at after, at least performing well on such a big stage for Christmas Day. And Wemby at least held his own. Your star player showed out against another team star player as well. And I think it was, for the most part, a decent day. Not a great way to end the game, but you'd want to follow that with the run, and Wemby's in the midst of a run as well, too. So he's been playing great as of well. At some point, he's due for a bad game. And like we were saying on Christmas, we were glad if it wasn't Christmas. Christmas chat. If he was going to run out of steam like the game after, that would make a ton of sense. But for the Spurs to be -7.5 on the road, it is kind of crazy. And I get that the Nets have a lot of injuries right now. Cam Thomas just out tonight. Another, speaking of global warming, chat, Cam Thomas. But, Brooklyn's like the same regardless. And I get Cam Thomas is good. I think is Ben Simmons out too, chat? Does that even matter? But Brooklyn's got like 11 of the same guys. It doesn't even matter who's playing. So I don't think injuries should necessarily affect their line. So I guess the Spurs, we're not +7.5. We're -7.5. We need to have about a 15-point swing here, which is not impossible. But I don't think we've been quite as swingy as we were last year. And Wemby can definitely power this team to a run late, like we're saying. In the fourth quarters, he's been really good and been able to keep us in some of these games, was able to win us that Hawks game. But just as a team, I don't think they've had necessarily the three-point shooting barrage as a team high moments as much anyways. But like we're saying, if Wembenyama just kind of asserts himself more, this might be a rare shoot more Wembenyama game. And 3 shots, 2 of them were threes. And they were, I think, closer to the 3-point line. Sub 25-foot chat, so He is learning. Maybe he's still a little tired from that Christmas Day game. Who knows what? I mean, they're the first ones out on Christmas. Is that low-key the best game to play in if you're a player? I think the primetime game would be pretty fun as well, but just having the rest, getting to the game early, getting a basketball game first thing on Christmas. I'm not even saying it like get it out of the way, chat. I'm just saying you get to wake up. That is like opening a present for me. And I guess we're not doing the grind of an NBA player. Pause. On or off the court. Pause. But but for us, if it was like, hey, if somebody scheduled us a basketball game on Christmas morning for a Christmas present, if they were like, instead of opening gifts, they just like walked us over to a secret door and opened it, and there was a court with players ready to just run pickup games, I mean, that'd be the greatest present of all time. So to play basketball Christmas right before afternoon, go home, have the rest of the day. And then if you're Wemby, you get to watch that LeBron-Steph game as well. I mean, what a great life you're Wembanyama. You get to be Wembanyama, and then you get to go watch LeBron and Steph. Sounds like a pretty good Christmas to me. I guess, we don't know what the family situation was for Wembanyama. America to France, that is, something you don't think about for a guy like Wemby in the NBA. You think life's going so well for Wembanyama right now. He's peaking as the season goes along, just in terms of for this season. We really started to see him round into shape over the last couple of weeks. He has this star breakout game on Christmas. I mean, the man escaped a security guard of his beating up Britney Spears. So it just seems like Wemby's invincible. And then you realize, oh, wait a second. His whole family's in France. Wemby is a family man. Like, maybe Wemby was a little lonely on Christmas. That's a sad... Wemby! Should we have slid into the DMs, invited Wemby to the family Christmas? We probably should have. Next year, chat, make no mistake. IT, write it down. We'll invite Wembanyama to the family Christmas. And I guess his brother is a... What's his brother's basketball path right now? Is he continuing overseas as well? Because the thing about Wembanyama is... I mean, I guess he could have, he easily could have come to... Nobody would have turned him down. An opportunity to come to the NBA, develop in America, and maybe even go to American school, some American prep school. Like Wembanyama at Monteverde, like that would have been crazy, chat. And I guess the the disadvantage for Wemby, because I guess I don't know the full Wembanyama backstory is, and I'm not saying this to discredit him, but... if you come to America to go to American high school, then you have to go to American high school. Now, the thing about Wembanyama is he's, a smart guy. He seems like he would be in the books regardless. Like, Wembanyama would want to go to school. Seems like, the type of basketball player that would want to get his degree, for sure. But, not to just throw shade at the rest of the league like that. But... You get what we're saying, chat. We're saying that in all walks of life. Like, there's people at the restaurant right now that have a college degree. I have I half a college degree, chat. So, am I slightly overqualified for a position at the restaurant? Maybe. Who knows, chat? Maybe not in 2024, going into 2025. But, I'm not saying that there's read, studied, educated college credits. Like, it's just one factor of life. It's not, of course, the end all be all. But what I'm saying is, if Wemby gets to play basketball in the profession, if a professional basketball player overseas, which he can be, he has to come be a student basketball player over in America, and it's probably just, and he gets to make money as well too as a professional basketball player. But if in terms of basketball development, where did we get off on that, chat? Pause. That tangent. Is his brother playing in America? Should we check? I think his name's Oliver. Chat, we got to spell Wembanyama on the fly. We should know. I think his name is... Let me see. Near 8-foot giant. Oh, this is some other kid. What is his name? Is it a more French name? I thought that was a pretty French name. Olivier? What's the name of his brother? Let's see here. Chat, his family is buried online. Oscar, that's what it is. Okay, okay. I knew it started with an O. Oscar Wembenyama. Where is he playing basketball? Okay, so he's already a pro basketball player, as you would expect. Overseas. Start him young. I guess 2007. How old is he now? 17? Just about 2027 minus 3. Birthday? I'm not going to try to figure out the birthday. But yeah, he's basically senior in high school, freshman in college. Versailles? He plays. There's a basketball court at Versailles? Chad, I didn't know that. I never... Like, I would go to Versailles. Versailles is cool for sure. Like, no, you know, France. France seems like it's great. I would love to go to France, but I'm not like 10 out of 10. Oh, what are we trying to print this page? What is happening? I'm not like 10 out of 10. In general, I wouldn't be 10 out of 10 excited to travel overseas. And that's not, you know, again, to disrespect overseas. That's just, you know, it's the travel aspect of it as well too, chat. And then it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's still all like planet Earth. Even Mars, chat. Like, Elon's talking about Mars, the new world. He wants to call Mars the new world. Like, why? Just call it Mars. What's wrong with calling it Mars? That's what you're gonna populate it. The reason that they called it the new world was because it was literally undiscovered to Americas, right? When Columbus found it, this was the first time that and again, we're not a history pod, chat, so fact check us if we're wrong. But to our knowledge, that's the first time that, if I can remember it from the past lives, chat, the European, like, descendants, Spanish descendants, you know, all those guys, whatever Columbus was, because Columbus was like Italian sailing for Spain or French sailing for Italy, or so he was some, you know, guy betraying his country. But, you know, it was they literally didn't know about it. They thought that they were in, you know, India. They thought they were in Asia, and they realized, oh, wait a second, no, this is literally a whole new world. So, what Disney movie is that, chat? We've been out of the Disney movie run for the last couple of years. Is that Moana? Shout out Moana 2. Is that even in theaters yet? Chat, we need to catch up on Disney. Pixar will stay locked in on, even though I got to admit, Pixar, the last couple, I haven't necessarily rushed to see. I think the last one that I saw was Soul. Do I need to check that out, chat? Maybe. But, I guess, Oscar Wembenyama, yeah, currently playing for the French national team. 2-5-2, Oscar! Okay, so it is good to know, though, for the Spurs fans' perspective, that Wemby is actually the one. Because who knows if it was like a freakish, and I get maybe Oscar doesn't have the, you know, measurables of his brother. Pause. But maybe he was like the weird. You never know, chat. You just never know. Is it like a Lonzo LaMelo situation? Because again, Lonzo was like the number 2 recruit in the nation. So everybody that, and everybody now as well too, that's like, yeah, we all knew it. LaMelo was the better Like, Sam's the only one that I actually knew that was like all the way from when LaMelo was like that 12-year-old kid on varsity in those early highlights with that afro just running around. Like, Sam was the only one that's like, no, I think LaMelo's actually the best one of the bunch. But Lonzo, I think, was actually the highest overall high school recruit. I don't know if the technical number rating, I guess I don't know exactly where LaMelo was at too, because, you know, he ended up going pro really early in Lithuania or whatever, Latvia, Estonia. I forget exactly where he was at, chat, but remember, he went pro, so the high school thing didn't really end out that way for the recruitment to kind of add up. But I think he was in the 20s or 30s, right? He was a 5-star anyways. Maybe 20s or 30s is too low. Teens. But I mean, LaMelo was Summer League MVP too. Like, LaMelo has, or Lonzo was Summer League MVP. Like Lonzo did show all the stuff to be, there might have been like a third team All NBA in Lonzo if he had stayed healthy and the progression had kind of trended upward every year. And even now, like the version of Lonzo that you could imagine getting, the 3-and-D playmaker, floor spacer, point guard, is still like a super valuable, super, I guess, I don't know, super rare, but just and especially at his size as well too, like that might make it even more rare, more fitting for the modern NBA when we're trying to go to this switchy type thing. Like Lonzo is still a really good player. So it's like to say that LaMelo, I get, watching LaMelo dribble around, like you go, oh, maybe he has all the basketball talent, but I still think, the peak version of Lonzo, to me, I just loved it. And I get LaMelo's playmaking is pretty similar as well too. I don't know. I was a fan of Lonzo. And that we have this, for some reason, a sneaky soft spot for those UCLA teams. Specifically the Juzang, Jules Bernard. Tiger Campbell as well too. Shout out, because he's from the hometown area as well. He went to high school in, or maybe he didn't go to, I forget exactly how he spent some time in the neighborhood close by, I think, at some point in his life. So I was like, shout out to Tiger Campbell. We've always got to pull for the hometown people when they're on the big stage. So that UCLA team, except for when they played Michigan, was a team that we'd always hope that they won. But anyways, chat, we were talking about, I remember Oscar Wembanyama, shout out. Anyways, I forgot why we got to rambling about him. But the Spurs were at least back up by 2 now, so I shouldn't have actually said too much. It was the first quarter. We got to give our team a chance to actually win the game here. But you know how it is, chat. We can always smell value when our team, when it's like, hey, this seems like there's some BS here on the side of our team. I feel like you can sniff out your own team's. I mean, of course you can, chat, as well as any other teams. Like, it just makes sense. But I mean, we know when the lines and when the numbers are just wrong for the Spurs. And again, up by 2, it's a depleted Nets team here as they go to the bench. Chris Paul is kind of working him in the second unit right now. Like, they may be actually able to pull away, but 7.5 is still kind of a decent amount to go out and win the game by. Just, even if the Spurs were playing well, I think. I don't even know what their biggest favored line would be of the season. That's got to be kind of close. I guess there's probably a Portland double-digit, Utah, something in there. But even those, chat, you get, San Antonio versus Portland, and it's 12. I don't even think it would be that high, but if it got into the pushing the double-digit mark, we'd be like, let's see. Let's dig up the lines on some of these Portland alt spreads and see what's going on here. But we've also got Celtics Pacers running in the background right now. 2 games at once. Once we upgrade the studio setup, because make no mistake, we did get some upgrades over the Christmas season. Shout out Mama Morrow. She is a saint. But we will try to get the studio upgraded. And once that happens, we may be able to hit the multi-view on the League Pass. Chat, I mean, the Reverend Sam Pod with the multi-view could actually go pretty crazy. And then, we can still even second screen it, go 4 or 5 games at a time. Multi-view for NBA, and then, I mean, we wouldn't even have to double screen NBA at that point, chat. We could just multi-view the NBA and then go second other sport on the other screens, because we could even go triple screen. We could dig up a third screen, I think. What we could dig up is an actual legit first screen, and then promote the second and third, the first and second screens to their proper places as the second. We need a number 1 player, chat, in the screens world. But actually, we just need to be thankful with what we have, of course. But just in terms of dreaming big, I mean, we're Sam Presti, chat. We're always looking to upgrade the roster. I was seeing a post about how he turned like a second-round pick all the way up into what we've seen today with this Thunder's team. And it was, let me see if I can actually find the trade. Did I save the post? I saw it on IG. Let me see if I saved it. I should have. It was impressive. Maybe I can find it if I didn't save it. I have a picture. I saved a picture of Wallow with Jennifer Lopez and Kim Kardashian. I should have saved the stats. I think I remember who posted it though. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, here it is, chat. Let me get this web down first. I don't know. Do I just want to log into my Instagram blind, chat? I think our algorithm is pretty locked in at this point for sports, but I just don't know what type of sports, chat. Is it going to be NBA? Is it going to be WNBA? Oh, what is this, chat? Breaking news? Wait a second. Time out. What is this, chat? Oh. Chat, we have some breaking news live on the pod. Very sad to report. I guess this is not breaking as of right now, but this has at least been posted within the last hour. And this is CBS Sports broadcasting legend Greg Gumbel, 78, passed away. I guess today, chat. In a battle with cancer. You know, we can't say that he lost, of course, because Norm always said that, shout out Norm Macdonald, who, of course, also had cancer himself, said that, you know, once, you know, like, doesn't the cancer also die as, like, the cancer goes away as well, so doesn't the cancer lose? He's just like, it's like a tie. It's like a tie, so shout out Greg Gumbel, I guess, tied with cancer, chat. But a mainstay on the CBS broadcasting Sunday games on the studio. And, you know, chat, we've been, like we say, more locked into kind of the red zone the last season and a half. And I guess, you know, this year as well, too, the studio shows have really gone in the background as, you know, we've tried to be live during some of the games. So I honestly, you know, with him battling, I didn't even know, I can't even say, like, I don't even know if he's been on the show the last couple of years or not, because, like we're saying, with Red Zone, you don't even really cut to it's the football all the time, so you're not even cutting to the studio shows when there's no action or when all the games are in a timeout or something, or in the in between parts or something like that. Like, it's just Scott Hansen, it's just whatever. So, you know, I guess I didn't realize even that this was, you know, going on in his life. But man, shout out, it's a legendary run, of course. Rafters in the jersey for one of the greats, the greatest sports brother broadcasting duo. I don't want to just, you know, throw terms out like, you know, greatest gets abused all the time, but the Bryant Greg Gumbel, I mean, they're definitely brothers, right, chat? This shows how little we know about the previous generation and the broadcasting legends that came before, but they're not like cousins or something, right? Older brother of Bryant Gumbel, of course, but like we're saying, chat, is there a better powerhouse family in the sports in the sports broadcasting world? Was Greg the best one, chat? Today he was the best one for sure, but definitely the one that we were most familiar with as well too, because I mean, how long has Bryant Gumbel been doing the HBO Sports thing? And, you know, HBO Sports, unless you're paying for it, I don't know if there was a way to get it. I know back in the day, there was a way to kind of antenna, black box, kind of sneak around the system and hack into the HBO thing. If I'm not mistaken, if we've heard people talk about that in the past. But today, outside, you know, I guess you could just pirate whatever is on HBO. But in terms of, you know, actually pirating the streaming service itself, or, you know, I guess pirating the real-time sports show just in general. But but that show for, I mean, our whole childhood, like, you know, just buried behind, you know, because we were always the network TV growing up. That's what we had the access to. So It's just something that we never got to see. But of course, like you were saying, Greg Gumbel on the half times and calling the games as well too. Called a lot of college basketball games. I know got into the mix as a play-by-play announcer for the NFL as well too. So he was one of the more versatile sports media guys, if you look at it that way too, because he was really good on the play-by-play. I always liked Gumbel on the play-by-play. And I don't know if his brother could have done play-by-play in the same way, because you think about the show that his brother did as well too, and not that, like we're saying, I haven't really ever watched it. It's not saying that out of disrespect. It's just, like you're saying, Chad, you grow up with your shows, and then, it just gets harder to lock in on certain shows as time passes. But maybe we need to check out Real Sports. Is it still going? I think it's still going. Maybe. It was still going as of recently, so, there's new episodes. Not that we're against watching old episodes, Chat. We're secretly a 90s kid. Missed it by a year, but we should have been born in the 90s. I guess technically conceived in the 90s, Chat, so that 90s blood is still in there somehow. But, yeah, I don't know if... Because the Real Sports is, more, I think, long form and conversational. And, he's hosting it in a... the show is him, I think, in a different way. Whereas, as the host... on the studio show where Greg Gumbel's kind of point guard for all these guys. And I feel like that's a little more translatable into the booth for some reason as the play-by-play role. And not that, and you still have to be good in, the course of calling a game, but still your ability to kind of set up your guy. I think Brian, if it was, I'm sure, did they ever do a brother booth at some point? Is that a pause? That sounds like it could be crazy. But did they ever do a Greg on the play-by-play and a Bryant on the on the color analysis, breaking down the game? Maybe Bryant, like we're saying, would have been the one that maybe wouldn't have earned that role. We didn't make it past the audition. But Greg, of course, no problem. Mr. Gumbel. We can't just get away with calling him Greg. Mr. Gumbel. Sir Gumbel. He, of course, was an ace at his job. Ace at all of his jobs. I'm sure... sideline, he could have done it all, Chad. Greg Gumbel. I'm sure he could have hosted Real Sports as well. I'm sure. Greg Gumbel, like we're saying, the better of the Gumbels, Chad. But, man, I didn't, expect to log on and see that, Chad. What, what? Of course, it's a sad time, Chad, but from the outside looking in, of course, we want to, like we're saying, extend our condolences, but extend our happy memories as well, too, of Greg Gumbel being... and once you're in on the childhood, Chat, pause, there's just not much more that you can do to just be a mainstay of somebody's life. No matter... Even if, like we're saying, Greg Gumbel had just retired and ridden off into the sunset and somebody else takes over the studio show and there's a new host, Greg Gumbel is always the NFL CBS studio host for us because that's the way it was growing up. The finals crew for us, and shout out to Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson and Mike Breen. They do a good job, but, growing up, Chad, it's Van Gundy, it's Mark Jackson, it's Mike Breen. That's the crew for us. Collinsworth and Al Michaels. That's always going to be the Sunday night crew for us. And Tirico is, Tirico's really good as well, too. Tirico and Collinsworth, they definitely hold their own. That one is definitely more of a nostalgia factor. And, it's just, I guess, a different flavor of Tirico versus Michaels. Both, and Michaels, in the legacy rankings, you'd have to put him probably higher than Tirico. Not probably higher. Al Michaels called the Miracle on Ice. Al Michaels is going higher on the legacy rankings as of right now. But, pound for pound, Chat. Skill for skill, Tirico does a great job. Oh, Wemby just getting bull rushed by Claxton. Is that a foul on Claxton? Yeah, Chat, you can't let your superstar player hit the floor like that. You can't let players run over Wemby. Wembenyama just put up 40 on Christmas. He's going to get some calls now, Chat. Make no mistake. The whistle will go favorably for Wembenyama going forward. Not that it hasn't already, but now that he is a bandwagon player, we will see a couple more calls going his way. But anyways, shout out to Greg Gumbel. Shout out to the Gumbel family. And hopefully everybody, like we're saying, can find some joy and some comfort in all the happy memories. Because make no mistake, it's all happy memories for Greg Gumbel. I hope. But it's all happy memories. And like we're saying, hopefully that they're flooded with those at this time. But do we just have to just a moment of silence, chat, for Greg Gumbel, just to be serious for a moment, because you know you don't want to just rush back into talking about a game like you're forgetting about it, but it is just under 3 minutes left in the second half. So second quarter, 2:50 left in the second quarter. Spurs back down by 2. So do we want, as long as the Spurs win by 7 or less, is that okay for us, chat? No. We want the Spurs to be as dominant as possible, but point differential doesn't matter anymore. These Friday games, we're no longer in the NBA Cup. But I think we were mentioning that Pacers-Celtics game as well. And I don't even remember what we went to look up, chat. What were we going to search up? Is there any way that it'll be saved here? No, chat, I don't remember. But it doesn't even matter, like we're saying. More important things to think about. But yeah, anyways, Boston taking it to the Pacers right now. Indiana, they're not even on the same level. And Boston keeps advertising the suites here on the League Pass stream. I guess, yeah, the League Pass stream, chat. We're not in the Midwest for this one, even though it's a Pacers game. Wink, wink. I don't know. Does our blackout restrictions change as we move throughout? Like if we go to a different spot in the country? It must, right, chat? It doesn't just know that our hometown, it doesn't just black out based on our home base. It has to be location, yeah, because we don't like program in like an address or something. Like, yep, we live here. Because if we did that, I mean, we would just program in like something in Australia. Be like, what blackout restrictions apply over there? Are there blackout restrictions for international, like for the different countries? Like, I guess maybe for a couple there are, but in terms of the, you know, the way they're blacked out here in the Midwest for being considered the local team and you need to get the local coverage. Like you know, the international package is probably totally different, but like, is there a weird sort of, you know, kind of like how the Jags kind of are the international team. And I guess the Jags have played in, I think, probably London and Germany, and they bounced around, so it's not like maybe they're just the London team. But, you know, is Germany, like, maybe are they big Magic fans because of Franz Wagner? So maybe, I guess they don't just get, do they just get hit with the restrictions because they're like, who's everybody rooting for at the moment? Maybe Germany would do that, chat. But maybe a couple years ago, but I would assume they would just give you full access to all the games, right? Overseas. Plus, who's watching games at 2, 3 in the morning? Oh, chat, the Spurs still going with the candy cane telestrator. I'm not going to lie. We're not Grinch. We're not like full Grinches. We're not anti-holiday spirit. You know, like we love Christmas decorations and we love going all in for the holiday season. But the Spurs Christmas-themed telestrators have not been great. There was like the standard yellow line at one point, but with Christmas lights on it, which is just too much. And then now they're doing like a candy cane pattern on the line. Like, what's wrong with just red or green? Like, I don't know, just do red. And why are we still doing, like, maybe we are Grinches. It's the 26th, 27th, and we're like, let's put a wrap up on Christmas. But I don't know, chat. It does feel like one of those things where more of the event is on the, it's a lot of foreplay with Christmas, you know? And then make no mistake, it's over quick. But once you hit the 26th, like, I don't know, chat, because at work, they were talking about how instead of watching Christmas movies, a couple of the guys had been roped in with their ladies to watch some of their shows, like watch some of the Christmas episodes. And I was like, oh, yeah, like we could go back and watch all like the Fresh Prince Christmas episodes. Like I didn't even think about that this year. It's just been, you know, it's been Christmas Vacation and Die Hard and Elf in the rotation. I was like, let me just keep throwing on Christmas Vacation at night to fall asleep to. And there was a Oh, geez, Jed, that was a COVID spit right there. It's a good thing we're alone in the studio, but we might have to mask up for our own sake at this point. But there was a Christmas Carol watch in there as well, too. I mean, chat, just one of the classic, if not, maybe pound for pound. I mean, it's definitely the best performance, the old Alistair Sims Scrooge performance in the 1951 Christmas Carol. It's the best Christmas performance in any Christmas movie. I don't know, maybe Pesci in Home Alone, and then, just for the the amount of trauma that he takes, Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation. But if we're actually having to like do a Christmas awards show and who's the best actor, Christmas movies, all of them in a pool, like, chat, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Alistair Sim is taking that trophy, and it's not even close. I know the Gene T. Heisman Trophy, the Hunter Gene T. Heisman Trophy voting battle was kind of close this year, but it would not be that for the Alistair Sim Best Actor. I mean, make no mistake, like James Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life, like you'd have to give him, like he'd be on the ballot as well too. You have to give him his flowers, but I mean, chat, come on. If you've seen the Alistair Sim performance, you know what we're talking about. It's iconic. That movie is iconic, and once you get really close to Christmas, it's like, okay, I mean, how do you not watch this movie? How is this movie not one that needs to be passed down on the generations, chat? Put it in the time vault. Make sure that there's a hard copy of this movie, buried under the Smithsonian, just in case. I don't know. Put it real far underneath, chat. But, yeah, anyways, we were going to watch. I was like, well, I guess we can just watch these Christmas episodes on the 26th. And the 26th rolled around, and I was like, nah, chat, let's just keep watching basketball. We're good. So maybe that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's just our degenerate basketball fandom that gets in the way of the Christmas movies. But and maybe for the holiday season, the Christmas episodes for Fresh Prince might be watched. Maybe we'll just watch the normal episodes of Fresh Prince as well. I mean, that would maybe make... Is there a New Year's episode that I'm not thinking of? Right off the top, there has to be. But maybe we'll throw that back in the mix a little bit with the holiday season. But the mood for it, like we're saying, it's definitely it's between Thanksgiving and Christmas, more so than Christmas and New Year's. And the marketing for it will get stretched out a little bit, but it feels forced, chat. It feels forced. The hype leading up to Christmas is genuine, but post-Christmas clarity, it's a real thing, chat. People are just in a different mood after Christmas. It's just what it is. But 40-41, 12 seconds left in the first half, chat. Can we at least go into halftime with the lead? Who would thought we'd be saying that against the bench for the Brooklyn Nets? But if that's what it takes to be above 500, because at the end of the day, chat, I know, like we're saying, point differential, there are stats that we could look into to evaluate the performance, but the wins and losses is what's going to get this team in the playoffs. And at the end of the day, I think them figuring out how to just get games into the win column is going to be the big thing for the team this year. And, a lot of that is going to be just Wemby is awesome at the end of some of these games. But Castle as well, too, as he figures it out offensively. And Chris Paul has been really good. And not just really good. In terms of this team, he's been great for playmaking for him in the fourth quarter and down the stretch. And maybe as Castle complements him with Wembanyama, Vassell can up his consistency in the fourth quarter as well. Then maybe they'll actually start to look like a good fourth quarter stats team. But they just need to become a fourth quarter wins team. Because they were in a lot of winnable games last year, chat. There was a lot of games that definitely the score looked kind of tough. But you would look and go, okay, there was like a run here at this point in the game where things kind of got away from them. There was a moment here. But outside of that, like they played them kind of close. There was, if you just kind of broke it down by like a minute by minute basis, they were, I think, hanging with teams for more minutes than they were losing, if that makes sense. Just in the minutes that they were losing, they would just, the runs that the other team would go on would just be absolutely crazy. And they'd pull away and you'd be like, okay, this game's definitely out of reach for this one. Moving on to next week. But again, it's like, okay, if you clean up some of the defensive stuff in some of these moments or whatever, or maybe there's an offensive bucketer here too that kind of even out the momentum. Like, they're in some of these games, and like we're seeing it, Chad. I mean, they are a 500 team right now. They're 15-15. So that is 42 wins at the end of the year. Like, the Spurs is a 42-win team, Chad. I mean, that puts them right on pace with, kind of where we saw Orlando last year with Paolo. And I don't know if Wemby's supporting cast is necessarily not necessarily not playing as well as Paolo, but there's also a timeline thing. And, Castle is even a newer addition to the team than Wembanyama. But some of the other guys are just a tad farther down the timeline than sort of the rest of the core is for Paolo. Franz is a couple years older than Paolo, but Suggs as well too. But you get Black in there, and Jet Howard, chat, and those guys are a little more in line with Paolo. But at 15-15 at this point in the season, we cannot necessarily complain. The Vassell with 2 points, chat, 1 for 9. The Vassell starting minutes have not necessarily gone the way we wanted. So speaking of Orlando, should we jump over there, chat? Because this is looking like a good game. Boston is just having their way with the Pacers right now. RIP. Is Rick Carlisle next, chat? Mike Brown was the first coach to bite the bullet today. How many years left does he have on that contract, chat? Maybe he was a little farther into it than we thought. Pause. But that was one of those extensions that you really had to pat him on the back for. Because you were like, okay, buddy, I don't know if you're going to get the next one. The team's playing well right now. But Mike Brown also has a little bit of a history of maybe bouncing team to team. But who do they got on the bench stepping up, chat? Because didn't they lose their main assistant to Brooklyn? Or is that the Raptors guy? Do they have who's the guy that I'm thinking of? What's his name, chat? His dad was a coach as well. The Kansas City Kings, shout out. Yeah, why isn't Sam a Kings fan? Maybe for a lot of reasons, but starting off in Kansas City, this should be his team. Oh yeah, assistants. Was it am I thinking of Fernandez? Barbosa, shout out. Doug Christie? Interesting coaching staff. Is Doug Christie the interim coach? Yeah, it was Fernandez. Did he go to Brooklyn? Yeah. So they lost their main guy to Brooklyn. So is the guy that I'm picturing then. There was two guys that I was picturing, and I didn't remember if I was getting them mixed up on their teams. And I think it was the Nuggets assistant coach was the other one. Oh, chat. Whoops. Here we go. 16-12 for Detroit or Denver. Ryan Saunders, assistant coach on the Nuggets right now? No, because the Raptors guy is still the guy that's Scotty Barnes, best player in the league. Face of the league, Scotty Barnes. Popeye Jones? Yeah, David Adelman. Where did David Adelman go? Okay, yeah, he's still in Denver. Why didn't I see his name on that list? Because I'm blind, chat. Where's he at? Okay, yeah, shout out to the purple highlight. David Adelman. So I was picturing David Adelman and Jordy Fernandez. Rudy Fernandez, too. But the Brooklyn coach, and I couldn't remember if I had a mix-up in my mind or not. But no, yeah. Adelman's with the Nuggets, and Fernandez used to be with the Kings, and now is with Brooklyn. Is it a Bruce Arians-Pagano situation? Do they wish they had Fernandez? I mean, Brooklyn, they're hanging in there with the 15-15 Spurs tonight without Cam Thomas. So you kind of have to give Fernandez his credit. But now that the coach is gone, I mean, it's not even who's next up for coaches to go. Maybe it's who's next up for the Kings to go, because apparently the De'Aaron Fox rumblings have started. So I don't know if that's just the Kings are bad and the media is making, and that's just the guy that they're picking right now from the bad teams, the star from the bad team. We got to trade him. Or if Fox's agent is actually floating stuff out there, because make no mistake, like we know now Jimmy Butler has basically requested a trade in the ways that you can do it in the modern NBA. Like as much as Jimmy Butler has, as much as you can request a trade now, like Jimmy Butler has basically done it. So I'm assuming we would hear something similar in regards to De'Aaron Fox, but as of right now, it's just trade mill type talk. But I'm not against maybe trading a guy selling high, chat. Maybe not that. I don't know if this would necessarily be selling high for De'Aaron Fox, but I don't know if his value as an individual player has necessarily dipped with the way the team has dipped as well, because I think over the last couple of years, I think that even though they've achieved a lot and the roster has added some good guys, like me and Sam both love Keegan Murray, I think the DeRozan swing was at least worth a shot. Like, who else were you going to add? At the end of the day, is he him versus Harrison Barnes? It's like, you're not winning the title anyways. You might as well just try to bring in another guy like DeRozan and just see what happens. But I guess, what do you build around Sabonis and DeRozan at that point? You build around Sabonis. But, De'Aaron Fox is a point guard as well, too. He is in a weird spot of, if you're trading for him as a number 2, like, do you feel that he's going to play to that role as effectively as he could? And we've seen him play next to other guys like, Malik Monk back in Kentucky. Bam Adebayo was also on that team, right, chat? Like, that team was obviously a stacked Kentucky team, like a lot of the Kentucky teams are with the freshmen. But, I mean, De'Aaron Fox has still been the quote-unquote, and not even quote-unquote, like, he's still been the best player on every stop that he's been at. But if he's going to go to a team with another star player and be in that number 2 role from a usage standpoint, chat, I mean, obviously he's going to have to be off the ball more, which could be a little interesting for De'Aaron Fox. But now he is maybe forced to be a little bit more of a point guard as well, because in Sacramento, you do have Sabonis, who can handle a lot of the playmaking responsibilities. And maybe when Sabonis is playmaking, again, De'Aaron Fox off the ball and working around Sabonis is a great piece to that offense. But outside of Jokic, it's not even just who's going to pass and playmake from the top. I guess it kind of is, like, who's going to be that kind of playmaker. I guess, could he do similar things like if he went to Philly and played around Embiid? Not that there maybe isn't necessarily a trade to work that out there, but just to think stylistically, like, running around the screens. The thing is with Embiid and some of those other guys, like, the 3-point shooting is been super beneficial in that pick and roll play, and maybe the passing and the playmaking, when it's at the extra level for those other guys and you have the guys cutting around him, like, they're able to just maximize those cuts more. So Embiid's good at passing for sure, and Embiid has definitely improved his playmaking. Like, when he's at, we're assuming we can get back to, peak Embiid. Can Christmas Embiid pop out for any other games? But I guess, like, if he went to the Magic, chat, and played with Paolo, and you have Paolo playmaking, like, what does De'Aaron Fox off the ball in Orlando look like? Should we go to the trade machine and see? Orlando, shout out Cerruti. Orlando is from Rosillo. Orlando is just going to be in the trade mix. It's just what it is when you have a bunch of young players on some fun contracts. But is De'Aaron Fox number 1 on the trade machine? D'Angelo Russell number 2? Should we do a little Lakers-Kings trade next? D'Lo for De'Aaron Fox. Is that how quickly do the Kings hang up on that? Who are we looking for? Magic? Oh yeah, we gotta go to the top, chat. Magic are balling out. Isaac, is Isaac enough, chat? I mean, ideally you're not giving up Franz, and obviously you're not giving up Paolo. Franz is probably untouchable as well too. You're trying to make a big three. Is it Anthony Black, chat? I mean, if you're just Orlando, and you'd have to even throw in, you know, maybe even say the KCP contract as well too, which would be kind of a bummer. Would you have to be more willing to part with the Isaac contract? I mean, either one, the numbers are probably, maybe not, Chad. Like we're saying, the strict trade rules. Maybe the numbers aren't close. Like Anthony Black for De'Aaron Fox it's an interesting trade. So Fox, Isaac can be traded on January 2nd. So a couple more days before maybe this potential version of the move could go through. I mean, Orlando obviously gets way better in the now with bringing in Fox. And maybe because of Fox's status as well too, as a, you know, all-star, borderline all-NBA type guy, maybe there's some picks, maybe another asset has to be thrown in there. But just, that's like a Dyson Daniels for DeJounte Murray level. Could the younger guy on the new team like really break out and play well? And DeJounte Murray's been hurt as well too, so you kind of got to give him the benefit of the doubt that if he was back healthy and if the New Orleans team was healthy around him, like maybe he would be able to be better than Dyson Daniels. But I think even people that like Sam, like people that were locked in on Dyson Daniels, you know, 1-for-1 was like, that trade is really interesting just for those guys. So Black for Fox could be kind of an interesting similar move. But if you're Orlando and you're trying to win the East, and if Paolo is going to come back and be 100% Paolo this year, and him and Franz are going to gel really well together, and Suggs is going to give you the high-level play that he's been giving you, like, you're not giving up a ton of depth there. Isaac is a bummer move defensively for sure. Like, either one, it is a tough depth move. But Fox, of course, would just ideally be such a dynamic player that he would make up for it. But do you think that you're going to win the East with Fox right now? And is winning the East enough? Like, do you want to be in a position to win the title? Because maybe you go peak version of Anthony Black with Paolo and with the role guy that you don't have to give up and with the other core pieces around it. Is that enough to actually win the title? But that could be a fun one, chat. De'Aaron Fox to Orlando. Add them another piece. Milwaukee? Does Sacramento want to just speed up the timeline? Bring in Dame? Little Dame for De'Aaron Fox? Dame might be a little too expensive for that. Middleton? Yeah, I think, unfortunately, Milwaukee is going to be out of the trade mix. I don't know about San Antonio, chat. I'm not too attached to the picks, but I do like Castle, and I do like the fact that the last couple of draft picks have gone in our favor. And we may have some favorable picks this year as well. Maybe our own pick is not as favorable as we thought. And that Raptors pick, and that Raptors pick as well, which is top 6 protected, like that may end up actually landing for the Raptors too. Yeah, they're number 3 right now. So they are cruising for that one. So I guess we're still in the lottery mix. Okay. Odds are, again, with the Spurs, I think getting arguably the best player in the draft 2 years in a row. Highest upside player in the draft 2 years in a row. Like, maybe the league is okay with chilling on the Spurs karma for a little bit. Maybe we wouldn't jump up from 12 to 4. Because I think we did jump up as well last year to get Castle. From, 8 or something. But, I think we probably land in that same similar spot. But we'd get Atlanta's pick too, so we could move up. We could maybe make a little trade. I don't know if there's 2 guys that And we need to watch a little more of the college basketball season. Oh, chat. Con Knuppel off the board already. Tough. Missing out on our guy. Boogie Fland? Okay. I'm not against bringing in a guy named Boogie. I like it. I'm all in. Hugo Gonzalez, chat. Have we ever had a Hugo Gonzalez be good at basketball? Looks like the answer is still no. We can say that because we're half Hispanic and we're waiting. Like we're saying that out of optimism that one day we will actually get a good Hugo Gonzalez. And I just don't want to be set up for disappointment and put all my faith in the wrong Hugo Gonzalez. But as of right now, Jaleel Bethea, chat? I don't know. Jaleel Okafor? Is that a name that we want to stay away from? Asa Newell? Georgia? Anthony Edwards out of Georgia? Athletic, young freshman out of Georgia? That might be an interesting player to keep an eye on as well, too. But, yeah, we were going to look at the Lakers here. So I guess, is it Reeves, chat? Reeves is back in the mix. And the problem is now Reeves is just putting up a triple-double on Christmas Day. And Reeves and LeBron just carried the Lakers to victory over the Warriors, which, granted, the Warriors themselves are maybe not the team we thought even a month ago, a couple weeks ago. But Davis did go out in this game as well, too. So they needed more from Reeves, and he stepped up. And, I mean, he even said it walking out of the tunnel after the game. That last play wasn't even drawn up for him, but he still read it right, still attacked in the right moments, and was still able to make the game-winning play. And he was just attacking mismatch all games, getting to the rim, and ended up, like we're saying, having an incredible stat line. Wow, so Russell and Reeves is not quite enough. They need to throw in Bronny, chat. Oh, shout out to General. I'm sure the space is great, but we're not going to go there. Get me back on the trade machine. Oh, we were impatient, chat. We overshot it. The one thing that you will see improve is the web skills, like we're saying, with the hopeful upgrades. But it's okay. We needed a blank slate on the Lakers Kings trade anyways, because the one that we put in initially did not work. But the Knicks do pull away a little bit from Orlando here at the end of the third. 76-68. But let's see here, chat. See if we get the Lakers back in the old trade machine. Okay, probably not LeBron for Fox either, because he played well on Christmas too. And Hachimura is less. So Hachimura and Reeves, is that too much? Again, I think Reeves, like if you made the move right now, I think Russell and Reeves, I think you could get away with it low key. I know maybe it's a pick too. You'd probably have to have a future asset in there. Hood Schifino? Obviously, we can't get Connect if we're getting Reeves. So is this 3 for 1, 2? Is this too much? Hood Schifino for De'Aaron Fox. I guess, is Reeves in the picks too much for Fox? Because now you have Fox, LeBron, and Davis. It's a fun trio to think about, chat. Because like we're saying, you do get that that sneaky third team All-NBA upside with De'Aaron Fox if you're getting a high-level version of him, and you open up some more space for Connect. He takes the Reeves minutes a little bit. He's obviously not going to be as... The IQ is not going to be as far along with Reeves as it is. And I don't know if... Connect is a pretty high IQ player, though. I think he maybe looks for shots a little bit, and I do think Reeves is maybe a little more pass first. But he's got maybe a little more balance in the pass to shot search out ratio. But I think Connect can kind of make up the same playmakings in the same type of way. And you get the jersey sales, chat. You get to boost the excitement a little bit. You at least get to maybe make the national TV games I guess I'm not even more tolerable because I love watching Reeves. Like, I get, Russell out of the picture is one thing as well, but Reeves is a joy to watch. Is he better to watch than Russell or than Fox? I mean, of course, Fox is going to give you some more highlights and maybe give you a better stat line night to night. But it's a tough one, Chad. Like we're saying, in the trade machine, it's only, a plus win on the season for the Lakers. It's only one win more. And I get it's a 3-1, so the minutes lost is probably also factored into there as well. Some of the rotation loss. Like, who's going to replace D'Angelo Russell, Chad, for the Lakers? It is a tough question. It's tough when you have to ask that question if you're the Lakers. But maybe this is more interesting than the Butler-Reeves trade because at least with Fox, you get a little upside as well, too. Not upside, but you get a little longevity. Butler's going to be 36 next year. We've got Fox is 27. You're getting a guy entering the peak of his powers? I mean, that could be a sneaky steal, chat. What do you think? Would this end up being a steal or an equal trade? Have we seen the best of De'Aaron Fox? The thing is, De'Aaron Fox and Anthony Davis, like with all due respect to Sabonis, like we were talking about him stylistically, like the fact that he is baby Jokic says so much about Sabonis because of how great Jokic is. And it's like Sabonis does this on a super good level, and that is an amazing thing that Sabonis is able to do that. Like, Sabonis is a great player, but, I mean, come on, Chad. Anthony Davis is on the All-75 list. Like, Anthony Davis is one of the greatest players we've ever seen. And he may not be able to play make like De'Aaron Fox, but, and that makes more sense because De'Aaron Fox is able to conduct the team that way. Like, you can have Davis and feed him the ball when you need to, and he can still be the defensive, be in the spots, and do all the things. But now Fox can still orchestrate the team outside of LeBron. And maybe this is not enough, but I don't know, chat. Reeves is really, and we saw it on Christmas Day, like, Reeves is good. Reeves can win you a basketball game against a playoff team. Like, I mean, I get that's maybe not the qualifications for an all-star, but what at the end of the day do you want an all-star to do for your team? You want him to win you playoff games. So maybe, again, Reeves is not going to give you the stat lines and the night-to-night and the game-to-game, the play-to-play of an all-star, but he's going to make plays at the end of the game. He can attack a mismatch. He can get a shot. If you're Sacramento, again, you might need one more future piece because Fox is a little face of the franchise, and Reeves is not a face of the franchise for sure. Like, with all due respect to Reeves, he's not. maybe I don't know. Maybe certain franchises there's some that he's a face that they could prop up there, but in terms of on the court, the basketball talent, chat, he's a great secondary guy, a great guy to have, and next to De'Aaron Fox. If you could bring him in next to De'Aaron Fox, that'd be excellent too. But this would also be a great, like we're saying, he's a great guy to have around. Reeves and Sabonis, that's a competent team. That's a team that's going to be feisty night to night. Keegan Murray's still there as well. Like, that's a fun young core, and De'Aaron Fox is still young, but that sets you up in a nice way. And if you're able to get a Lakers, like the Lakers have to throw a first in there. You're getting freaking De'Aaron Fox back. Like, you have to give up another pick. So you get that Lakers first with a nice role player like Reeves, above average role player, a playoff level role player, a playoff dude. Is that the next guy? Like, obviously all-star, we would assume he'd be a playoff dude, but Reeves is like a playoff dude. And I guess playoff dude is not just a guy. It is a guy that shows up in a playoffs, but like we're saying, it's that guy that's not going to be on the all-star team, but he is going to be a guy at the end of a playoff game that is going to be affecting the outcome. And we get that it varies. Like, an all-star might not show up in a big moment, and maybe a guy like Reeves, who, like we're saying, he's not an all-star, but we count on him for a big moment. Like, he might not show up as well too. Like, it all varies, but that status in the league, like, we need to come up with that next tier down. Playoff dude, role dude. I don't know. You just say role, and it's like, know your role. It's a little LeVar Ball-ish, chat. It sounds like LeVar Ball's talking to you when you're saying role guy. But that's an interesting one if you're Sacramento. I think it's interesting, again, like we're saying, interesting if you're LA. Because once you got to throw that future pick in there, I don't know, it just, you got to think about it. Maybe I'm overthinking the De'Aaron Fox trade a little bit too much because, like we're saying, 28, 29, 30, you're hopefully getting the best. And that is a great bridge as well, too, to help you go from LeBron with whatever happens for him the next couple of years. Davis, you still have a younger star to maintain him as he's in the peak of his powers as well. So scratch Jimmy Butler. Forget I said anything about bringing in Jimmy Butler. De'Aaron Fox is the guy. On to the next best one. Where that meme chat, we're walking down the street with Jimmy Butler in our hand as a trade target, and De'Aaron Fox walks by, and it's like, whoop, wait a second. I guess we don't know the end of that picture. Like, does a guy turn around? I guess that's the ultimate question, chat. But in our scenario, we're turning around. De'Aaron Fox is walking by, and we're going, oh, sorry. We're no longer interested in Jimmy Butler. And I guess Pat Riley has said that, we should no longer be interested in Jimmy Butler as well, too. He is not being traded this year, but maybe that just means that they're not going to trade him this year. It doesn't mean that if a team calls him and overwhelms him with an offer that Pat Riley is not dumb enough to say no. Right? I mean, there's 29 other teams in the league operating. That's kind of the other part of the trade machine that I feel like we've needed. I feel like it's been good for us to emphasize that this year. And maybe we stumbled into it with the fake Jokic trade. But like we're saying, it's good for these other GMs to be active in these scenarios when you think, because nothing is impossible, chat. Nothing is impossible. Just because Pat Riley said they're not going to trade Jimmy Butler this year does not mean you should go, oh, well, we should stop thinking about trades. And you don't want to give in to the ultimate power play and go, well, they're not going to give us Jimmy Butler. Well, watch this. Watch the offer that we can cook up for Jimmy Butler. But you get what we're saying. You can go, you know what? We were willing to give this up for Jimmy Butler. We think that they would think this is reasonable. Like, they're probably going to still take the call. And if Pat Riley does hear an offer and he goes, hey, wait a second. You know what? That is a player that I don't actually have to think about a lot. Like, I really do like that player. And the picks are in there. And we think those picks, like, that makes a lot of sense for us moving forward. And with Bam and with Hero, like, this is really something that can work. Like, if Riley gets the deal that he likes, if somebody approaches him with that deal, Pat Riley is not going to turn it down, people. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Pat Riley, maybe that is exactly what he's saying. Maybe we should take him at his word. Like, I will turn down a good deal if you approach me with it. But does that sound like Pat Riley? I don't know. That doesn't sound like a basketball great GM. Like we're saying, if you just get blindsided with a great deal, who's not going to take it? I guess, if it's too good to be true, whatever. But once the trades are final, the trades are final. I guess check out the medical history or something. Or maybe they just found out he like Austin Reeves robbed a bank and they traded him right before they were able to, the news came out, before the police sketch came out. But I think Pat Riley would move Jimmy Butler if the calls were made to him. Maybe he's just not taking calls anymore. Or he's not making the calls for Jimmy Butler. He's not going to be approaching any teams going, hey, do you want Jimmy Butler? Can I beg you please to take Jimmy Butler off my hands? I'm having a problem with Jimmy Butler. Pat Riley don't care. Pat Riley will go, no, I'm not going to. You're going to waste my time trying to trade you? I've got better things to do, Jimmy Butler. I've got golf. I've got cigars to smoke. I've got cards to play. I don't know what other kind of, mafioso lifestyle Pat Riley is living, but, whatever activity, like, honestly, I can't imagine. Pat Riley, I just assume he just, like, gets these basketball vibes and just kind of hears about things. Like, he just sits on his yacht and smokes a cigar, and the people on the yacht next to him are watching Duke, North Carolina, and Cooper Flagg's going off, and they talk about, oh, who's this guy? And he just kind of hears about it. And the other thing about the Heat is, too, I don't think Pat Riley is watching college basketball. Like, in all honesty, they are a good drafting team. They have had good drafting. They picked Hawkes, they picked Hero, but they do also seem to be a team that really develops as like a G League. Like, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Highsmith is like a role player guy for him. They get the guy out of the G League, the guy that's kind of like been a pro, and they kind of turn around the sneaky pro, the undervalued pro. They don't necessarily draft their team. And like they drafted Bam as well too. But again, it's kind of been a hodgepodge thrown together. Where did they find this guy? And they drafted Bam, they drafted Hero as the second and third guy next to Jimmy Butler. I get it. But the majority of that team is not necessarily how it's been constructed over the last couple of years. And you can tell looking at it now, chat. But, it goes, I don't know if Pat Riley is, watching college basketball on the yacht. But I do think he knows a good NBA deal when he sees one. Hey, he did trade for Terry Rozier, though. But I don't remember exactly what they gave up for that. I don't think it was too crazy. Did they give up a first? Maybe he's not watching NBA basketball either, chat. Yikes. But Reeves for Fox, I think, is a closer 1-for-1 if you throw a pick in there with it. Let's see what they actually have for picks, chat. What are they able to do? So, yeah, they don't have their 2025 or their 2027. So, yeah, it would have to be that 2029. Would it be unprotected to the Kings? Are you able to top 4 protect it? A top 4 protected first, Austin Reeves, Russell, and Hood Schifino. Hood Schifino could be... Hood Schifino was a first-round pick at one point. Like, he could still be a decent asset. That's not a terrible thing to get in a trade. A terrible throw-in, for sure. I don't know. If you're Sacramento, like, in all honesty, Reeves is good. Reeves is really, really good. Like, what else do you think we could cook up, chat? That's better than... That's better than Austin Reeves. Indiana's going to do, like, Toppin and Neesmith and... are you going to give up Matherin, chat, for De'Aaron Fox and put him next to Halliburton? Because I kind of like Halliburton and Matherin. It's kind of fun. And that gives you a couple more years, I think, as well, too. I don't know if... are you... Would Sacramento's not going to take Siakam for De'Aaron Fox, right? Would they do that just to say, hey, what can we flip Siakam into? But I don't know if you could get more for Siakam than De'Aaron Fox just because of the age, chat. There's no... Would Cleveland do Darius Garland for De'Aaron Fox? I don't know if Cleveland would touch their team. Pause. Whoa! Yikes, chat. Sorry about that. I don't know if Cleveland would mess with their roster at this point in the season as the 1 seed. But if you're Sacramento, maybe that's a call you would make. Hey, what's going on with Darius Garland? LaMelo? Could you sneaky get LaMelo for De'Aaron Fox, chat? That could be an interesting 1-for-1. Because, the Hornets are really young, and LaMelo does fit there, of course. But, like we're saying, Fox is still about to enter his prime, / is kind of at the beginning of his prime, at 27, hopefully. So as you kind of mesh the best years of Fox with these beneficial years of Miller and, Miller being on a cheaper contract, Bridges is not necessarily... I guess he might be a little overpaid, but, he's not super, super fat on the books as well. Saloon, their first-round pick. Trey Mann's been balling out for him this year as well. But, LaMelo, of course, is having his up and downs with the Hornets. And there's definitely some defensive stuff that I think they've needed to work on with him. And if you're talking about resetting the franchise, would you have to throw in... I don't know, chat. That's got to be a 0 on the trade machine. Whoa, +5. LaMelo sucks. LaMelo is so bad defensively that he's going to cost the Kings 5 wins. I could definitely see this, chat. You bring in De'Aaron Fox and you're better right away, for sure. The Hornets are, I think, maybe a little too bad at this point to try to do this. Yeah, they're at 4th right now in the mock. But let's see in terms of wins. Is there a big gap? Oh, yeah, they're in this real bottom tier, chat. The 7 wins. Do they need a tank? Okay, so I guess they just can't be a locked-in playoff team. Or I guess a top 8 seed. But yeah, they are making sure that they are in the top 5 right now at a 7-win season. But maybe Fox doesn't actually provide... And what's 5 wins really for a 7-win team at this point? They're kind of accomplishing their goal. Yeah, I guess you probably still want to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, even with LaMelo Ball. You don't feel like we have our guy. We can sacrifice some wins. You're not the Spurs at this point going, oh, we need to frantically try to tank for Cooper Flag. I feel like everybody else kind of is, though, Chat, in the lottery. Maybe Detroit? I guess Minnesota, but they don't have their pick. Yeah, like all these teams, like Minnesota, like the Spurs, we don't care. If we end up being bad this year, it is what it is. Like, if Wemby's good, we need to look at the rest of the team, and we get a high lottery pick. Like, we'll definitely take that as an asset to build forward. But the rest of these guys are, I guess, OKC is the other one. Philly, OKC. Charlotte, I feel like, would be one of the few teams in this mix that's like, okay, we got a couple of young guys, like with Miller and LaMelo. If we try to win some games here, this might not be the worst thing in the world. So maybe Fox doesn't quite fit the timeline. Would he be beneficial to OKC in any way? Just having an extra... Would De'Aaron Fox help OKC, chat? What do you think? Do you think he would make that team better? But, like, would you give up Dort? If you start Dort and Joe, and, you start giving up some of the shooting and defensive pieces, like, what are you switching out for what at that point? More dynamic. Another kind of mini Shea for less... Another mini Shea next to Shea with less spacing and defense around Shea. I don't really know if that is the proper pairing for De'Aaron Fox. What about Chicago, chat? The Bulls? Zach LaVine? Probably not going to move the needle quite enough for you in a little 1v1 sort of ordeal. I don't know. Could you get Kobe White for De'Aaron Fox? Would Chicago want to do that? LaVine is still there for 3 years. Vooch is 2. You're going to need to put another big contract in there. Yeah, it'd have to be what? Pat Williams and Kobe White for De'Aaron Fox? And I'm not trying to... I guess the point of this is not to undervalue De'Aaron Fox. I think with it being as difficult to make moves and acquire depth, I think depth is just a little bit more important as well now, too. So you don't want to necessarily just be like, okay, I'll give you everybody and bring in this depleted team that I can't add another asset to. But I don't know. Is Kobe White kind of is this Kobe White? Like this kind of sneaky good, maybe third or fourth best player on a team, can kind of run a pseudo playoff team. I don't know. This is kind of a fun trade as well. Kobe White and Pat Williams. I mean, that's maybe a better depth trade than Reeves and Russell. I guess from a win standpoint, I guess Lakers to, maybe how did the team stand up? But Reeves, Russell, and Hood Schifino versus Kobe White and Pat Williams. I mean, you get a fun point guard, you get a fun wing in there around Sabonis. Your team can still be bad in the Western Conference in a really competitive West. Still get a high draft pick. Maybe does Chicago have future picks to try to float in there? Okay, they've got Portland's protected pick. Okay. Oh, so their own pick is protected 1 through 10. Oh, interesting, chat. Wow. Oh, what a tightrope act by Chicago. Billy Donovan might need to be in Coach of the Year conversation, chat. Is Billy Donovan still coaching Chicago? Let's double check. I feel like he is. No, he got fired, right, chat? Who's coaching Chicago now? Do they keep Billy Donovan around? Yeah, they still have Billy Donovan there. Wow, Billy Donovan. Hanging on. Speaking of tightropes act, Billy Donovan's job, but if he manages to be this 10 spot and still have this team in the... Yeah, they're 10th in the draft and also 10th in the Eastern Conference. They can make the playoffs and still keep their own first-round pick with it being a top 10 protected pick. Like, Billy Donovan would have to be Coach of the Year for pulling off that balancing act. And who's underneath them, chat? Brooklyn, Philly, Charlotte, Toronto? I guess Philly and Brooklyn are the only two threats in terms of record. Unless Charlotte trades for, like we're saying, De'Aaron Fox and just goes on a massive 7-game win streak, gets back in the mix. But Detroit's already above them. I mean, Detroit is a young, talented team that is hopefully trending upward, but Chicago could potentially catch Detroit. That wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. I guess not that you would want to, but just in terms of that competitive closeness for the playoffs. In Philly, I mean, of course, they can catch them, but will they string it together enough to actually do it, chat? I don't know. Billy Donovan might actually be able to cross the canyon on this little tightrope here. Would bringing in De'Aaron Fox help or hurt that situation? What do you want, chat? And they have Matas. You got Matas, Kobe White, Pat Williams is 23, 5 years, 18. True, you just brought in Giddey as well this year, Dosunmu. Yeah, I think you keep the young core around. That'd be I think if their pick maybe wasn't protected this year and they could just have their first round pick anywhere and go, you know what? Okay, we're willing to sacrifice the odds of getting a higher draft pick for a little bit more success for the team, some good morale, and we'll bring in a nice solid first rounder and, you know, hope the upside's more, or we'll get a nice addition to the team. But speaking of the Pistons, what about the Pistons, chat? I mean, would you do Ivy for Fox? Would Harris have to be in the deal as well? Hardaway Jr.'s expiring contract. That's only going to get you to 24. Do they have cap space to work with? Could this be the one miracle team? How much more do we need to add? Whoa, it is, chat. So we could do Ivy and Tim Hardaway for De'Aaron Fox. That would be an interesting little upgrade for this Pistons team and try to see what you have with Cade. Again, that's an interesting one, though, with Cade, who I think can play off the ball, but I don't know if you necessarily want him playing off the ball in that way to another guard. I think it would want him to be around a big maybe, or with another dominant wing who could take over. But I guess, is Ivy going to potentially be whatever Fox could be? So if you could just sacrifice Hardaway Jr. for De'Aaron Fox, essentially, in this trade, to just power up Jaden Ivey and get De'Aaron Fox, just speed up the Ivy timeline, I mean, it's a worthwhile look. You'd have to see in terms of the picks, you know, what Sacramento would look for. But Ivy as a number 4 overall would just be like a, hey, you know what? We'll bet on the younger guy. 22. I think has played, you know, like we're saying, he's definitely showed the upside. So it'd just be an interesting bet for Sacramento as well. I like that trade. I like this trade more than the Bulls trade. Even though I think Kobe White and Pat Williams, like we're saying, is a better 1-2 combo, I don't know if it just totally makes sense for Chicago. Fox, Levine, and Giddey all next to each other? I don't know. I think Kobe White's floor spacing and off-ball shooting is kind of a nice addition to that team. Memphis, chat? Desmond Bane? What if it was Desmond Bane and a young guy? Scottie Pippen Jr., who's been balling out? Gigi Jackson? How long has he been? What's his injuries? He done for the year? I hope not, chat. First Greg Gumbel and now Gigi Jackson. Okay, 6 to 8 weeks on December 5th. So, yikes. Maybe we'll see him sometime in February. But if you're thinking long-term trade, he is such a nice young talent, though. Jalen Wells has been playing really well, and he is playing now. So if you're thinking maybe he would get the Jackson, but Jackson's more front court, I think Wells can kind of mix and match both. I mean, it would have to be Bane in the deal just to get the value back as well, more so than the contract. I mean, if you were to do Smart, I mean, let's see, chat. Pause. And it's not like Bane's been fantastic this year either. Smart maybe has been more clutch for him in some fourth quarters, but if you did Smart, and Gigi Jackson's only going to get you to 20-some mil, you'd have to throw in Conchar. I think you'd be giving up a lot of role guys. So if it was Bane, you know the contracts would work. And then, yeah, Gigi Jackson at $1 million. I mean, that's a pretty good trade as well, too. I like this one. And then They've got some picks here to work with in 26. And then maybe sprinkle in a future pick. So they could give them, yeah, future for, I mean, maybe not even that. Desmond Bane is pretty good, and Gigi Jackson is a nice young talent as well. Let me make sure that, just in case there's not some weird stipulations. Okay. So Desmond Bane is not going to carry the offense right away the way De'Aaron Fox is. That'd be a big bet on Gigi Jackson. So you definitely need those picks to help boost the overall view of the trade. But just look at the salaries to see if they line up. So that could be a fun piece as well. John De'Aaron Fox would definitely be the most athletic backcourt in the league. I guess De'Aaron Fox and Zach LaVine would be an insanely athletic backcourt as well if we were just going back to that Bulls trade for a second. But give you a little, I think, extra insurance around Ja and Jaren Jackson, and just boost the overall star power of the team. But that's not a lot of shooting in the backcourt either. Ideally, Bane does give you some floor spacing next to Ja. I mean, that was the nice thing about Bane last year, is he was like a 50, 40, 90 guy. It seemed like for a large portion of the season. Of course, we have to discuss Porter for De'Aaron Fox, though. I don't know if the Kings would necessarily be rushing to do that one. Oh, chat here. Let's check real quick. Speaking of the Spurs, who I guess we weren't really speaking of. Oh, here we go, chat. So that's 7-point spread. Looking mighty fine right about now. Yeah, entering the fourth quarter up 8. Vegas, they're geniuses once again. They know exactly what they're doing. And even when we doubted them, they've managed to set the line perfectly. Let's take, actually, a quick break. Do I have time to brew some tea during the break, chat? Do we have a British guy in IT to help us out? I'll see who we hired recently. Give us a second. We will be right back. Fourth quarter, Nets, Spurs. Can the Spurs cover? Because it looks like we might be pacing toward a win. Okay, we're back, chat. And again, shout out, of course, to our grandma. These granola bars coming in clutch that were in the stocking stuffers. There's some pretty exotic flavors here. I'm not even gonna lie. The one we're digging into right now is a pecan goji pistachio. Whoa, and the other one over here is a chili pepita pineapple, which I know that one's gonna be really good. This one, the pistachio, we had to dive in right away. But chat, there is something in here that definitely tastes like laundry. I don't know at what point in the process she put this in the stocking. But it's the goji berries. I mean, it's not bad. It's still, you know, at the end of the day, it's still edible. But not even laundry, chat. There's honestly something in here that kind of tastes like alcohol. I'm not even gonna lie. Maybe I had something alcohol flavored that was in here recently, and maybe it's just, or maybe not. Who knows? But it doesn't. Obviously, the granola bar doesn't burn. Did she soak these in tequila? Was Grandma thinking ahead? That would've been crazy. Is it the golden berries? I don't know if I've ever had goji berries before. Pause. But what's a golden berry, chat? Do we have to be careful looking this up? Jesus. Is this just like a yellow raisin? That also sounded crazy. Orange colored fruit native to South America. Related to the tomatillo. Tart, sweet tropical taste similar to pineapple or mango. I don't think it's that we're tasting, chat. Though it might be. It's probably the... Also known as Cape gooseberry. The puja berry? Husk cherry. Or Peruvian ground cherry. That also sounds like a slur. The puja berry, though? We might be working that term just into our regular everyday life, just in general. But what is going on with the goji berry, chat? I don't even know. Are goji berries actually... Are health people going to slide in the DMs and be like, actually, goji berries are fake health, whatever. But wolfberries? Oh, chat. How are they not marketed as... Well, maybe that's why, chat. Because maybe you don't want people eating wolfberries, but I don't know. Sounds kind of tough. Goji berries. Pretty banger, though. And pistachio, you can't complain. But, anyways, Spurs up 10. Looking good. With, 8 minutes left. Oh, geez, chat. That's the thing about these, like, super healthy granola bars is, like, the way they, like, all crumble up and stuff. But, during the break as well, we fired on the bowl game that was in the background. I forgot that there was some bowl game action tonight because, obviously, the college football playoffs aren't until New Year's, and then the major bowl games, some of the other ones, aren't until tomorrow. But Arkansas is on versus Texas Tech, and Arkansas is kind of a fun team to throw on throughout the course of the year. I'm not going to lie. They entertained us through a couple of TV timeouts for some of these other games. And they're dominating Texas Tech as well. In 8-4 Texas Tech, they're up 34-19 with about 75 seconds left in the third quarter, and they had just gotten a pick a couple minutes ago as well. So they're driving down the field with a chance to double them up here in terms of points. But wasn't there another bowl game as well, too? Should we go a quick bowl game corner, chat? Let's do a quick bowl corner. Now that the Spurs are up 17, was there a 1 in front of that 7.5? Vegas, they should have done it. But, oh, this is not going to give us the box scores. Let's just... Old school, chat. I need to see the scoreboard. I just need to look at the scores. See a couple of numbers. Okay, Syracuse versus Washington State. Kyle McCord still playing. Trying to get the win in the Holiday Bowl. Oh, USC versus Texas A&M. Miller Moss, didn't he already enter the transfer portal? So he's probably not going to be out there. Yep, Oklahoma was playing Old Navy earlier. Wow, Old Navy came back and won. Yeah, Oklahoma was up. I saw that on the TVs. I guess I didn't see the end of end of the game at work, but I saw these two teams battling it out as well too before we took off. The old Birmingham Bowl. Shout out to the old Birmingham Bowl. But what did we have tonight? Holiday Bowl and Liberty Bowl and Las Vegas Bowl. Yeah, I mean, like, these are obviously good teams, so we don't have to say that these are good bowl games. But yeah, Holiday Bowl, it's a respectable bowl. But tomorrow is that sounded like a fake cough. Sorry, chat. Tomorrow, I think Colorado is playing versus, oh, I guess the scores down here. Yeah, here we go. I guess UConn, North Carolina to start off the day. Fenway Bowl, maybe not the most packed. Okay, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Is this a newer one? Because I feel like with the newer ones, or maybe there's just bowls that switch out every year, so I'm just, maybe it seems like this. But with some of the newer bowls, it seems like they don't even name the actual bowl. They just brand it. Again, you had the Holiday Bowl, the Rose Bowl, even like with some of the minor bowls, the Citrus Bowl, the New Mexico Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl, the Fenway Bowl. Is that the one are they playing this at Fenway? Wasabi Fenway Bowl? Wasabi's a brand? It's just the Wasabi community coming together to sponsor this game. This would be like if just cheeseburgers sponsored. Or like, I guess I was going to say Mustard if Mustard sponsored the Fenway Bowl, but Mustard actually could sponsor a bowl game. Shout out. But yeah, see, like just Rate Bowl, Game Above, Sports Bowl, okay. Famous, yeah, the Idaho Potato Bowl. I feel like Famous Idaho Potato, of course, is I think the full brand, but that's been such a mainstay for a long time. I feel like you could almost brand this bowl as a different thing. You have the Famous Idaho Potato Bowl paying for the bowl, and then you could probably get a second company in there. You could get the Heinz Famous Idaho Potato Mustard Bowl or something super crazy. But yeah, the Gasparilla Bowl or whatever that is. The RealQuest Bowl. See, like this isn't even a real bowl. It's just a RealQuest Bowl. Put us in the Holiday Bowl. What happened to the actual bowl games? Why aren't Michigan and Alabama in the Citrus Bowl? You get two ranked teams, but Illinois, South Carolina? I mean, Michigan, Alabama, people are watching that game. People are tuned in. So just put us in the Citrus Bowl. Texas Bowl. And then, oh wait, yeah, that's all Tuesday. Okay. So tomorrow night is the showdown of BYU versus Colorado. But another double-ranked game there. So should be a fun game. UConn? Is Belichick coaching North Carolina now for this game? Against UConn? Who would have thought UConn had a better football record than, I guess any kind of major power program in a bowl game, but it looks like it's happening. Ew, gross! We cooked on Alabama. My bad. But also, speaking of the Christmas games, with a shout out to Wemby, of course we have to shout out Beyonce as well too for her halftime performance, which I think had about as many viewers, if not more, as the actual games themselves. So I think they were all, like the two games in the halftime show were all kind of in the 27 million range for the viewership. But of course she had an incredible performance. She crushed it. And she's done the Super Bowl halftime before as well too. So this is kind of like a step down for her in a way. Doing the Christmas Day halftime. And I know a lot of people were giving Netflix their props for kind of creating their own Super Bowl and creating their own big event, which they definitely did, of course. And you throw enough money at these guys. Like, that was kind of the thing that broke my brain with the Beyonce thing was, you just kind of have these institutions or these things that you think are these institutions that are set up like the Super Bowl halftime. It just becomes this iconic thing of like, do other games even have halftime performers? Like the Super Bowl halftime is the one. Like otherwise, I think everybody just gets down and prays during halftime for the other points of the games. Like during the regular season, like you just have these lore around these certain things, and you realize, oh no, it's actually just all money, and the Super Bowl is the biggest event and the biggest moneymaker event on TV, and the halftime is able to generate this thing, and they have the budget for it. they I think they literally have a Super Bowl halftime budget. Maybe Apple has it. Maybe the NFL and Apple has it. I don't know, but there's money to be spent on a Super Bowl halftime that is given out, and it makes sense to be able to spend that kind of money to have that kind of high level performer be able to do it. And I don't think they even pay the performer. Like, do they have a budget in terms of production or whatever? Or who knows? I think maybe that's even one of those things that they just have a budget and they get performers to do it for free and they just pocket the rest of the money themselves. Jay-Z's probably wouldn't be the first time. He's made a sneaky around the books business type move. But, you realize, oh, wait a second. If Netflix just throws a bunch of money at a halftime performer, they'll probably be able to get the halftime show that they want. I mean, how much did she make, Chad? Is there a number that shows how much she got paid? She reportedly got paid $20 million for her halftime performance. Netflix just has $20 million contracts to give out. They're giving 20 to Mike Tyson. They gave $20 million to Jake Paul. They gave him 40. Jake Paul made as much as Mike Tyson and Beyonce combined. Chad, I need a second to just either let that sink in or let that pass just wash over and go away. I don't even know, chat. How does the world even work that Mike Tyson could just, or Jake Paul could make as much as Mike Tyson and Beyonce combined? But how much is Kendrick Lamar? I guess, like we're saying, the halftime for the Super Bowl, you don't even necessarily always get paid for that. Is he getting the bag? The AI doesn't want to tell us. Yeah, so Kendrick is not even going to get paid at the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl halftime show is honestly an institution at this point. If people don't take that performance fee to do that venue. But if any of these other teams, like if the Colts wanted to spend $20 million for week 4 of the regular season to have Olivia Rodrigo perform her newest album whenever that drops at the halftime, or, if there's a more Indianapolis-centric pop star, Freddie Gibbs, when he drops the next album, Gary, Indianapolis, I don't know if Freddie Gibbs actually claims the Colts or not, but, if one of these teams wants to drop the bag, if somebody wants to bring in Kendrick for the opening game of the season, maybe the opening game next year, the Chiefs or whoever, the Lions win the Super Bowl and they are hosting the opening game, and Thursday night it's them versus I forget how they do it, Chad. Is it like the with the conference championships and stuff like that? But maybe it's a Lions Chiefs rematch in Detroit, and they want Eminem to do the halftime, and they want to throw $10 million at Eminem to do this halftime in week 1. You know what Eminem's going to do it during week 1? You know what Eminem's going to be doing on the first Thursday of September? If the Lions offer him $20 million to perform at halftime, he will be performing at halftime. You will be hearing Death of Slim Shady during week 1 of the 2025 season if that's how much they pay him. Like, maybe, who knows how much even the fee would be to get, a guy at whatever level to perform at halftime. It's just, are you going to do these things for the week 4 halftime when people aren't watching? And is it make sense for teams to drop a bag in that type of situation? Now, maybe, and I guess it wasn't even the team as well, too. It was the broadcaster Netflix stepping up and doing it and putting on the show. And they just book themselves as the halftime performers. But I guess if anybody in the zeitgeist wanted to step up and offer these artists these bags for these venues and to perform at these spots, then they would obviously do it. But you're not going to do it for just the random times. That's why the only other time you get it is like, J. Cole performs at All-Star Weekend for the NBA. Like, it takes a big event, and it takes, the league stepping up, or the broadcasting partner in this case, stepping up and dropping the bag. And I guess I don't even know if J. Cole got paid for that situation either. Like, that could just be a Super Bowl halftime situation. Maybe J. Cole, who loves the NBA, always wanted to, be in the NBA. This is his chance to leave his mark. He'll probably just, if I was J. Cole, I might do the NBA halftime show for free. Why not? It's the NBA halftime show. It'd be a fun time. Again, you get to live your dream of performing in the NBA. Maybe it's not in basketball terms, but as a rapper, I think pretty cool. I think you'll take that too. So, anyways, Beyonce, what were you saying with that, chat? Oh yeah, Netflix, of course, was able to create their own Super Bowl, but they paid for it. They definitely dropped the bag. It wasn't just that it was Christmas Day was like this fantastic event. And, Beyonce definitely added to it. And Beyonce was probably the best part of the day, chat. Not even probably. For football terms, she was definitely the best part because the games were not there. But now she has, of course, we're seeing with the articles here. Literally everybody is saying it. I guess we researched the paid ones. But even in the search for the pay, you see the articles about Kendrick and how is Kendrick going to do now that Beyonce has set the bar at this level for performings at halftimes this year? And obviously Kendrick performing at the Super Bowl, he's going to have the history and the legacy of all the other Super Bowl halftimes that went before his. But the Beyonce thing as well too is interesting because it's a standing in the moment. It's like a pop star in the moment type thing. Like, Kendrick has a chance to, and is in the mix for being the biggest. You say pop star because it means popular star, but it also is like, does it mean that crossover into people who listen to pop music? But it just is like, the biggest person in music is what you mean by saying pop music. So, he is in that mix for being the biggest person in music at the moment. And he has a chance to go head to head with another person in that mix in a live performance aspect where everybody's going to see it. Because that's the other part where people are going to see this. Like, there's going to be tons of people that are going to see the tour. The clips and the numbers and all this stuff is going to be out there from the tour. But we got all the great albums from the artists. We got great, for Kendrick specifically, great sort of off mic moments with the rap beef, and I guess that turned into off mic moments, but I guess Kendrick did kind of keep that was technically all kind of a on mic type thing. I'm just thinking like away from the studio albums in a sense, kind of whatever the Olympic sort of run is for the NBA guys. Like, he had his sort of Olympic every couple of years. Maybe you get, and it's not just every couple of years for rap beef, it's maybe longer than that, but that sort of rare event to prove yourself in front of the world. And, he won his gold medal, and now he has a chance to kind of go back in. He's like Tatum now. And now he has a chance to win a championship by putting on a better live show than Beyonce. He can out-rap Drake, of course, and outsell Drake potentially, put up the big numbers. He has the number one song. He can do all that stuff, and he can also sell out a stadium and put on a live performance about as well as any other artist in the game. Because I got to be honest, like, I don't want to say the live performance aspect is what's holding Kendrick back in terms of, the two. I'm not like, it maybe is his lowest 2K rating, but it maybe is at this point just in terms of, again, exposure. Maybe it's not even true, chat, because he has already, a historic tour of his own under his belt for the last tour that he did. But I guess I was thinking about him specifically compared to Travis as well, too, because when we're talking about who is the biggest guy in music, and if we're talking about who is the, biggest guy in hip hop or biggest person in hip hop at the moment, as much as Kendrick is dominating sort of he's sort of dominating the headlines, and the music, of course, is fantastic as well too, and everybody's in on it. Like, Travis Scott is numbers wise at times, even better than Kendrick. Maybe I think Utopia was the most streamed album of the year, and I know once GNX dropped, of course, it was being more streamed than Utopia. But GNX, I think, is going to have similar legs to Utopia. Like, I don't think it would be shocking if GNX was the most streamed album next year. Like, maybe next year is just a super hyped year, and it becomes one of those things. People just, there's so much to consume that the rotation becomes too heavy. But it's just the strength of where Travis Scott is at. Like, everybody is bumping Travis Scott in, I think, maybe a similar way to Drake. And as a live performer, he might be the best live performer in hip hop right now on a big stage like that. And Kanye, of course, has the legacy of the best live performer, but if Kanye was to just pull out a Vultures tour right now, what would that look like? And I'm sure it would be fantastic in terms of the 2024 game, but in terms of what Travis is doing right now, and maybe it's just the energy as well that Travis is having at these venues, but the size of these places that he's playing, and he is just, the tickets that Travis is moving has been absolutely insane. And if we're talking technical skills, the lyricism, if we want to get into like the who's the better rapper between Kendrick and Travis, like, yeah, Kendrick has Travis in those aspects, but if we're actually talking about the popularity thing, like, if people want to make the streaming case for Drake against Kendrick in that kind of way, and not in a rap beef kind of way for Travis, but if we're just, trying to rank everybody out, like, I think Travis to like a 92% degree, maybe 95% of Drake, just because Drake's streaming numbers historically have been, so far and away above everybody. But like we're saying, Utopia now was in the mix this year more so, it was above everybody for most of the course of the year. So maybe Travis Scott is actually starting to turn that corner. And I think you could see his numbers be similar in a streaming way to Drake. And you can see him just be better in these bigger live venues than Drake is. And I think Academics has said that as well too on his stream when talking about Kendrick versus Drake in this way. And I don't remember exactly if he said this, but I believe he said that Drake's act was better as like an arena act and maybe like a smaller venue act. And I've never seen him live, unfortunately. Of course, we'd love to see all these guys live, but so I can't necessarily testify if that's true or not. But Travis is able to perform Travis could perform in a stadium. Travis was performing to 70, 80,000 people overseas, and Travis has the ability to pull off that kind of show for these kind of people. So I just think his name needs to be in the mix if we're talking about the full experience of what you're getting with a rapper. It's like, and just with an artist, the streaming, the album discography sort of consistency, the hits, the live performance. Like, if you just put it all into one package. And Kendrick is obviously going to have a chance to prove him now with this stadium tour, but with kicking it off in front of the Super Bowl. And that'll really be the tone setter for the whole thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, this thing's going to be great. But the Beyonce thing was going to be great as well, too. And not just because it's Beyonce. I mean, that's a big, like, Beyonce is just going to do a great job in whatever she does. But Beyonce has done stadiums before. Beyonce's done like 4 full stadium tours at this point. So, you imagine each of those is, tens, if not breaching into hundreds or whatever of venues. And just time and time again, playing these stadiums, setting up events. She knows how to coordinate these things. She knows what you're capable of doing in a stadium. And not to say that Kendrick is not aware of these things, of course, but I'm just, Beyonce has more time in a stadium than Kendrick is. It's literally just a fact. You can look at the fact that she's done 4 stadium tours. She knows what you can pull off in a stadium, but she also knows what's going to be like grandiose in a stadium as well too, and what's going to be hard to do because, again, she's at this point probably really gone through it, trying to think of new ways to innovate and new things to do and new approaches to take for the tour. And like I was saying, Kendrick is going to do a good job, but Beyonce had the experience and had the creative and just has the creative background in this area to be able to pull off a good stadium show, of course, as well with, you know, an amazing discography and an amazing new album with Cowboy Carter. But I think that is what specifically is going to be an advantage to Kendrick, because I love Cowboy Carter. Like, I think Cowboy Carter is a great album, and getting it replayed for us a little bit at the halftime at Netflix was like, okay, it definitely maybe fell out of the rotation a little bit. Not that Beyonce has fallen out of the rotation, but maybe Cowboy Carter. You know, at the end of the day, it is a country album. So sometimes maybe in the vibe of just some of the hip hop run that we get to going on, you know, do you want to work a country song in there? We get it. But it was like, okay, we definitely maybe need to go back and revisit this thing as a whole project from start to finish. It's a great album, but I think as a stadium album, GNX is a better stadium album. And I guess we'll see if how much the music is geared toward that and how much of it that matters. Because, like, if we're comparing it to Travis, you know, a lot of Travis music with his heavy production is just going to be so incredible in these live venues. And I believe Soundwave as well, too, was in the mix on this Cowboy Carter album. So if we're just talking about that translation into the stadium experience, you know, we know that Soundwave is able to produce a vibe that works in there because he literally just did it, and we just saw it at this halftime. I guess I don't know exactly the tracks if he produced to what lined up with what performed, but I do know that he had a hand in working in that project. Did he EP it as well in some kind of role? I'm not even sure, but we know that, you know, he's proven, of course, with this latest work that he can make a move in a stadium. And if you just listen to, you know, and I can't really exactly, like, I just don't have a deep knowledge of a bunch of Jack Antonoff songs to listen to the Kendrick album and go, okay, these are the Jack Antonoff touches, pause. But again, just kind of that extra thump that is in some of these songs, and there's just the bass is a little extra heavy. Like on Luther, we've seen Soundwave with that sort of real chill, flowy, very sort of vibey, luscious beat in the past. But just the way that the way he's been able to balance that with sort of those heavy but smooth drums is, a classic Soundwave kind of move. But the way they're just kind of turned up a little bit extra on Luther, and the way, Whacked Out Murals has been just a crazy oxon for me as of late, because when the beat drops on that, it is absolutely crazy. And that, will go hard in a stadium. Squabble Up is going to go crazy. Like I'm saying, with Luther, even though it's going to be a chill vibe, like him and SZA singing to that crowd with the melody of that song, I think behind that bass line is going to work great in a stadium. Man in the Garden is maybe not a stadium song, but if you look at, she didn't do obviously all of Cowboy Carter. Like, he's going to select some songs, and Beyonce did all of Cowboy Carter as well too in this track, in this set list for the Netflix halftime. So who knows if Kendrick will do all GNX for the Super Bowl halftime? Like, the Super Bowl halftime is a bigger deal than the Netflix halftime, even if, Beyonce did a Super Bowl quality halftime performance. It's just a fact. The Super Bowl is going to be a bigger deal. So going to have more eyes on it. Like we're saying, what, 27 million for Beyonce this time? How many watched the Super Bowl halftime last year, chat? Let me look it up here so you guys can see it. I was going to look it up on the other screen. Wait, did my other computer just... Oh, the screen just died, chat. Oh, jeez. Or did it just go dead? What happened? Oh, the game ended. The stream stopped. Okay, wait. Let me switch this game quick. Did the game end? What happened? The screen just died? Maybe the stream just stopped. We disconnected from the Wi-Fi, chat. Classic issue. Okay. We'll let it boot up here. What were we going to look up, chat? How... Super Bowl halftime. How many people watched last year? I guess technically earlier this year as well. 123 million people watched the Super Bowl, the game itself. So I mean, even half of the Super Bowl audience tuning into the Super Bowl halftime is double what Beyonce got, I think, for the Netflix, if that's what the number would be. But you know, even if 20 million people turned the Super Bowl off during halftime, you still have 100 million people watching the Super Bowl that day. So he may perform a couple other hits out of the catalog for some fan service, but TV off as well too, with the mustard. That's gonna go crazy. And I think even if he wants to bring SZA back out and really promote the tour and, you know, run Luther and Gloria both in the set list, I think that works perfectly fine. Like I think I've said in the past, maybe bring all the stars back out from the Black Panther soundtrack. But I think The Heart Part 6 maybe is not like the vibiest stadium song, but I think has the potential to have a really great moment on it as well, which would be great in a stadium or any arena, potentially. But I think Kendrick's GNX album is a little better geared for a I think the hits off that album are better geared for a stadium, and maybe that's just my personal aux taste. But like I'm saying, you know, I think there's maybe some more heavy aux Beyonce songs that you could play. I mean, I guess she played some of the more aux songs off this album, of course, as you would, you know, with like Tyrant and that Sweet Honey Buckin' as well. But you know, you get like 16 Carriages and Blackbird and stuff in the intro. Something a little slower and something that she didn't actually perform, I think, out on the actual field itself. But with the material that Kendrick is bringing to the halftime, just based on GNX alone, like that material is going to be strong enough to put on a good show. And we've always seen PG Lang creatively bring it when it comes to these type of events. I was trying to go back and find his Mr. Morale film and for his Big Steppers tour, because it was on Prime for a little bit, and I know it was definitely there after the pop out, and I think it was on there for a while even after that. But for some reason, the Mr. Morale Big Steppers film is just nowhere to watch. I don't know if we're gonna have to actually purchase it, but I've seen bits and pieces of that, and that was, you could see really creatively Kendrick was doing some real cool stuff there. Now, the pop out itself was, you know, maybe a little more stripped down in terms of, it was literally just guys performing on a stage, and it was just the raw energy of the performances. And it ended up being the best thing as well, too, because the stage ended up becoming the moment, and it was the people unifying themselves together and, you know, everybody being up there at one time. That was ultimately the special thing. But when Kendrick has had to go into these creative bags, and it's not even the live performances as well too, it's just any of like the video stuff that we've seen from Kendrick. I mean, the music, of course, and we know his world building and his aesthetic is always really great, but I think his aesthetic is really good too, because that was the other thing that was distinct with Beyonce. It was like, yeah, it's full on Cowboy Carter, but the Cowboy Carter brand is, you know, with her being in her crossing over into country, she can like make herself very distinct with this cowboy thing. And Kendrick, with the GNX, I think, vibe that you can see him going for in this album, the real LA laid back, you know, that black and white gritty sort of vibe that we see him in there. I think that aesthetic can play really well just as a world and as set pieces, and, you know, however you want to do it. I'm assuming there's going to be like an actual GNX at some point on the thing. Maybe he rolls out into GNX, riding in my GNX with Anita Baker in the tape deck, and then maybe he rolls out. That'd be, you know, a good first verse intro for him, and he's going to want to, I think, really take advantage and maximize the time and get to moving when he's out there on the Super Bowl. But I am not at all really worried about Kendrick's ability to put on a live performance. And it's not even to match Beyonce, because with Kendrick, he's always thinking so original and so in his own lane, and he's always just creatively, sticking true to himself. He's such creatively his own unique guy that he is not going to, I think, be worried about copying Beyonce. And I think he's going to also be able to, while it is still, stadium, it's still a halftime, there's still crossover elements, he's going to be able to provide a show in a different way that I think you're like, oh yeah, this experience is great in this way, and Beyonce's experience was, really amazing in this way. And like we're saying, I think the sound of this album, the high points that it can go to, I think are really going to resonate well in the venues that he's playing. And I'm assuming that's why you bring Antonov in. Kendrick, he knows what he's doing. I don't know if it's a genius move is the right move, because at the end of the day, like, Antonov wins the Grammy every year for best producer. So to just bring in the best producer is maybe the most obvious thing to do in the world. But if I was a hip hop guy, like, I don't know if my move or my, just as a fan of hip hop, if somebody had approached me and was like, hey, I'm trying to gear an audience toward bigger venues, like, who's the producer that I need to go talk to? I don't know if Jack Antonoff would have been the guy that I would have necessarily recommended, but I think what he was able to provide without, I think, influencing like too much poppy stuff, because it still feels Kendrick. Like, you can tell, I don't know if he was just consulting or what, but I still feel like a lot of the creative stuff was the main crew of Kendrick and PG Lang and him and Soundwave that we kind of saw from Mr. Morale, and then Antonoff kind of interjecting in various points with, maybe not necessarily editing the rough drafts. Maybe he's a little more hands-on in that, but, that kind of cleanup duty to get it that extra level into those stadium vibes. And maybe you need to be in, maybe it just doesn't work like that. Maybe you don't just hand him a song and go, hey, can you turn this into a stadium hit? And he goes, yeah, let me just boost this up a little bit. Maybe he does. He's Jack Antonoff. But, maybe you got to be actually in the mix, making the songs. We get it. But I just, to bring in a guy from that world, great move by Kendrick. This album is going to sound amazing. SZA, of course, is going to be such an amazing counterpart for him as well. And such a strong melodic performer, because that is the thing, too, that maybe we would see with Kendrick. Just objectively, Kendrick compared to Beyonce, he's just not as good of a singer as Beyonce. And that's not even a diss. We're talking about, one of the greatest voices ever to grace the planet, just in terms of vocal ability. And just listening to her chat in the halftime. And again, I don't know if it was, if there's like actually noise and they played it on speakers or whatever, but if it's just her raw vocals chat, you're like, man, this is, truly one of the greats. But, to have SZA to be able to bring that emotion that is needed melodically, because that is the thing that maybe you can miss from a rap performance. And obviously, I guess if we're talking, he's going to do Not Like Us, which is not on the album. And that song, the energy around that song is so hyped up, and he's able to bring it so much. He's so passionate about that song that the energy for that song, that song can't help but be exciting. But some of the emotional high points that you can reach from some of the melodic stuff, maybe you don't get with some of the rappers because of some of the monotone. And, when you're not in the studio and you don't have the ability to take the risk with your voice in certain moments, maybe you might not be as willing to do that at live. Maybe, I think Drake, and like we're saying, I don't know what he is live, but I can imagine him vocally, and obviously he's got the R&B part of his discography if he wants to ever bust that out, to be able to achieve that type of stuff. But again, to be able to kind of, there's just an emotional journey he's going to be able to take the crowd on now, and there's going to be an energy that's going to be able to be injected throughout the performance that, if maybe going from bar to rap verse could get a slightly monotonous? Are we saying that right, chat? Slightly repetitive. Now there is, Luther's going to be in the mix. SZA's going to be singing. Gloria potentially is going to be in the mix. Maybe he brings out, a couple other old pals or whatever. Who knows? But I mean, I have full confidence in Kendrick. The man is going to do totally fine at the Super Bowl halftime, and PG Lang is going to be great. And the other thing as well, too, is, like we're saying, there's budgets going into the Super Bowl halftime, but these aren't just get the performer and have a great performer in the moment. It's great that they're able to get Kendrick, who is potentially at the top of the game in terms of artistry, to get that role. And Beyonce with Cowboy Carter is also at the top of the pop field as well. And Netflix is able to get her. Like, it's awesome that they're able to do that. But these are also strategic marketing moves as well, too. Like we're saying, Kendrick is literally doing this for free because he's about to embark on the Grand National Stadium Tour. And this is a promo for 100 million people. Here is a literal sneak peek of what the tour is going to be. And Beyonce, I believe, is in a similar situation as well. I don't think she's officially announced the tour yet, but a lot of people suspect that she will announce another stadium tour very soon. And both of these people aren't just artists. Like we're saying, these aren't just artists doing tours as well. They, as much as they want to go on tour, these guys have Live Nation, and they have the full force of these corporations behind them. So if anything, like, Live Nation is not going to let the Kendrick halftime performance be bad, because the tour, and not that we even have to make excuses for Kendrick in this situation. We're just saying, in comparing it to Beyonce, we know the baseline of it is Live Nation wants a good show. And then the other baseline of it is Kendrick is an amazing artist. And the other baseline of it is GNX is an amazing album. So it just keeps moving up and moving up. And like we're saying, I'm not worried at all about what Kendrick is going to be able to do when that day arrives. But the last thing I wanted to mention quickly before we go start sipping on some tea and honey. Sorry to run from you guys. Maybe a little bit quicker than we normally do on a Friday. But like we're saying, it's just the voices. It's just what it is, chat. We'll get the cough drops and be back for Sunday. Don't worry, no days off. But, we'll fight through what we can. But I did want to mention Caleb Williams quickly. And maybe we should just stop now, because I don't know if this is going to be good for Caleb Williams. But, the narrative, of course, is at this point, and as it should be, that the Bears are just it's all a disaster over there, chat. The Bears are a disaster organization. Caleb Williams has no help. All this stuff, get are the Bears potentially ruining Caleb Williams? That's kind of the narrative. And I think what is also kind of happening is maybe there's a mental preparation taking place. And maybe it's not even that as well, too. Like, teams ruining quarterbacks is a real thing affecting their development in terms of the league. But I am still a little conflicted on where I'm at for situation and development. I know in the past I've seen like situation is everything for a quarterback, and maybe that is true when it comes to winning ultimately. And that is absolutely, that is true when it comes to winning. Like, you need to be on a good team, of course. But, in terms of actually getting a player to maximize their potential, like to become a really, really good player, can that happen out of broken teams? And absolutely it can, but it's like, can it happen on the regular? Like, will it happen or can it happen? And I'm still a little conflicted about it, because there was a moment watching the game the other night. I was watching it with my mom, and they showed a sack record stat for Caleb Williams, and they said he was like 4th all time in QB sacks. And we've seen the offensive line this year. It's not really been great. But my mom was saying, like, oh, I'm surprised Andrew Luck doesn't have the record in that number. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But Andrew Luck also got rid of the ball as well, too. And Andrew Luck, make no mistake, like, Andrew Luck didn't always get rid of the ball. Like, Andrew Luck would definitely take a hit or two that he was not supposed to. But I just recall, like, a lot, especially, like, Andrew Luck would get those highlight packages of him, like, saying, like, really nice things to the players. Like, I would always recall those being post-release as well, too. Pause. Like, he'd throw the pass, and then some guy, the offensive lineman, would just let him through, and he would blast Andrew Luck right as he was hanging. And there was a lot of, like, oh, Andrew Luck hanging in there till the last second, making the play, taking the shot, and doing those, like, making the heroic move. And not to say that Caleb Williams is not hanging in there till the last second or whatever, but, it's as simple as Andrew Luck knew where he was throwing it when he was throwing it. And we saw Caleb Williams make a couple of great plays off the run, and there was a third down that he threw to DJ Moore, which was like, how did he even see DJ Moore there? I kind of question what he saw there, but it worked, and DJ Moore got the pass, and it was I think it was a fourth down as well too, when they just blitzed everybody, and it seemed like they were going to get him sacked right away, and it was just going to be a failure of a play call. But yes, the Bears situation is absolutely disastrous. Like, the clock management the other night was terrible. I don't know if the offensive stuff that they've been demanding of him with the offensive line capabilities has been all that great either. But take a guy like Andrew Luck, for example, which maybe you guys would say is not a fair comparison for Caleb Williams, because Andrew Luck was, one of the great rookie quarterbacks we ever saw. But on the other hand, this is kind of what we were expecting from Caleb Williams. But even look at Drake May on the other, on another team over there in New England, another draft class counterpart from this year. And that New England situation is maybe every bit as bad as Chicago. Like, I know Chicago's vibes right now are probably worse than New England's, especially since they fired their coach as well mid-season. But if you just go player for player down the roster, it's not like the Patriots are going to blow the Bears away, or, the other way around or whatever. Like, there's a lot of similarities between what those two guys are dealing with. And we're seeing Drake May is showing flashes and keeping his team in games against really good teams, and I guess Caleb Williams is making, a game-winning play here and there the other night. And technically they were in the game. It was 6-3, but we all saw that game, people. It was ugly. And like we're saying, even that fourth down play was so crazy. I don't even know. Now, retroactively, we'll give him credit for it if he goes in the Hall of Fame. But if it doesn't work out for Caleb Williams, I'll just say he got lucky on that play. But Caleb Williams was at, 66 sacks this year? Let me see. And we are at the mark. Like, this would be an amount of games that Caleb Williams or Andrew Luck has played. We haven't even got to that extra week yet. For the Bears, 67 sacks. Wow. Let's see how many that is for history here. Oh, it's not going to have it for history on this part. We'll have to go down here. Because I believe on the broadcast they said he was fourth or either tied for fourth, but they didn't show the other ones. So he got sacked again even after they showed the bracket. Tough. But single season, most times sacked. Is it in the 70s? Whoa, he's getting close, chat. 76? I guess. Why is he number one here? Where's our boy Carr at? Why are they disrespecting Carr? Randall Cunningham. I guess we could secretly leave him off the list. Nobody needs to know about the 86 Randall Cunningham season when he took 72 sacks. But he's almost about to pass 05 David Carr. So anytime you pass a David Carr on the sack list, that's not good. But even Andrew Luck, for as bad as that offensive line was, and literally forced him to retire and caused him so much trauma that he had to wander off in the hills and just detox for a while and get his pancreas right again. I mean, even he only got sacked in the first, look at his first 3 seasons when he played all 16 games, 41 times, 32 times, and 27 times. He almost got to, his first 2 seasons is almost as much as Caleb Williams this year alone. And the whole storyline around Andrew Luck was the offensive line is terrible and couldn't protect him and is forcing him to retire early. And to be honest, chat, I haven't looked at this Andrew Luck page in a while. It's always a little painful to try to stop by and look at the Andrew Luck timeline. And this is the exact reason. I didn't realize that those first 3 seasons were really the only 3 healthy seasons that we got from him. And we made the playoffs, I think. What was that Deflategate year exactly? 18? Or no, 14 was the Deflategate year. And then from there on out, man, everything went south. But again, Andrew Luck was a good quarterback. And at the end of the day, like, can we go back to this sack list here real quick, chat? Oh, we lost it. And, we saw some names on there. Randall Cunningham is in the mix for sure. I think, a lot of people like to look fondly on the David Carr run. But look at these names, chat. David Carr. Randall Cunningham, who should be a Hall of Famer if he's not. Let's check. In our mind, he is a Hall of Famer. Yeah, we're just going to ignore that. Randall Cunningham, put him in the Hall of Fame. He won the league MVP. It counts. It is basically enough. You've got David Carr, Sam Howell, John Kitna, Steve Buerlane, Ken O'Brien, Deshaun Watson in Houston, who was good that year. So maybe that's an exception to the rule. Bryce Young, Neil Lummox, Tony Eason, Jeff George, Don Meredith, Mark Brunel, kind of decent. Tim Couch, Dak, again, decent. There's some decent seasons in here, chat. But at best, decent seasons. Stroud this year, bad year. For real, if we're kind of being honest, the team is not bad, but Stroud's having a down year. And I guess you would go, well, obviously there's a correlation. If you get sacked a lot, you're not going to have a great year. But look at this. Who is the first Hall of Famer on this list, chat? Is it, is Meredith 64? Is he sneaking in the Hall of Fame? Is this like a multi-positional guy we don't know about? Yeah, Don Meredith. No Hall of Fame. Sam Howell, I guess not in the Hall of Fame quite yet. But you've got Phil Simms with 55. He's like near 30 ranked for most sacked player. Is he in the Hall of Fame? But he's won 2 Super Bowls, so as a fan, he's the type of quarterback that I would like. If my quarterback for the team that I rooted for had 2 Super Bowl rings, that would mean you would have those 2 Super Bowl rings. But then you get into, Kaepernick, good season. So Stroud, Burrow, Wilson, Rodgers, Wentz. And, maybe it's even a thing to look at with a guy like Burrow, where Mahomes has managed to stay out of these lists. Lamar, and it's a mobility thing. I get it. But Brady has managed to stay out of this. Peyton Manning, stay out of these lists, people. You don't see Peyton Manning's name in these lists. And I think the Colts did a lot to invest in the offensive line, and they had really great linemen. And Jeff Saturday was, of course, a staple there for a long, long time in Indianapolis. But, folks, the most Peyton Manning ever got sacked in a season was 29 times in 2001. And then after that, that's the only time he got sacked more than 25 times. So look at that. Outside of that, he's taken 1 a game. He's getting rid of the ball. And again, maybe it's not that he's not taking hits. It's not that he's not dealing with pressure. It's that he knows where the pressure is coming from pre-snap. He knows where to go. He knows all these things. And Peyton Manning is the complete, opposite example of Caleb Williamson at this point, not to be disrespectful, but, like Peyton Manning could avoid the sack before the snap. Like that was Peyton Manning's specialty, more so than trying to run around and not scramble. But again, I don't want to say that there is just a good thing here, because you get Deshaun Watson in 2018 with 62 sacks. Like that was one of the more impressive quarterback seasons taking place in the league that year. He was on the Pro Bowl. Yeah, an average value. This is approximate value. This is a Pro Football Reference homemade stat, but 16 is really good for that number. He's 4,100 yards, 26 touchdowns. I guess the 2020 season is the one where he really, really went off, and they were 4-12, 112 quarterback rating. He was sacked 49 times that year. But look at, even at 62 times, they were 11-5. So that might be like the major sort of exception to the rule. But again, I don't want to say IQ thing, but I think there is, if you're a good quarterback, you can avoid a sack in multiple ways. And it's not just having the offensive lineman and the pressure not get to you. It's about knowing where the pressure is going to be at, knowing how to make sure that the offense is geared toward getting into that space. And you need the offensive lineman to shift their protection, do all this stuff as well. I get it too. But you've got to do your part pre-snap. You've got to do your part post-snap. And you've got to also be decisive with the ball and make a read and kind of commit to it. And I need to go through and watch the all 22 and see if the guys are getting open. But the amount of time, of course, that Caleb Williams is spending in the pocket and holding on to the football is it's too much, chat. And as bad as the Bears have played this year, like, I hate to say it, and I've been, watching all year trying to justify my thinking and reasoning that, hey, the Bears suck and Caleb Williams is just being ruined by the Bears. And maybe that's still the case, chat. But, and I guess the fact that he's not getting help in being developed is them ruining him more so than them just making him worse. Them not helping him grow, is also a part of that. But also Caleb Williams is just objectively not playing well. Like, Caleb Williams is objectively, we've had most of the season happen at this point. You just watch how inept the offenses are on that Thursday night game. And yeah, Jaden Daniels has had some bad games. We get it. But, Jaden Daniels is out here completing Hail Marys. Jaden Daniels is completing impossible. Jaden Daniels had a game with 5 turnovers, and he still managed to dig deep and win the game. Like, Bo Nix has gone on an amazing winning streak. Even, Penix hasn't had time to prove himself yet, but Penix looked decent. I don't know if he didn't wow. He didn't stun right away, but you could see that you could see right away he's better right now than Kirk Cousins. And you see him across the field from another, backup / maybe quarterback that shouldn't be a starter. And you go, okay, I think Penix is showing stuff. Like, Penix looks like a starting quarterback if he can smooth out a couple of these passes, like some of the reads and some of the touch over the guys. Like, I really kind of like what could be here with Penix. Like, this could really be a strong quarterback class if there is a good baseline with all these guys. Like, there could just be a bunch of solid starters in the league for a long time. Like, that 2012 class with Andrew Luck is a good example, where you have Luck, you have RG3, and it's tough that both those guys, unfortunately their careers were cut short. But you also had Cousins and I believe Tannehill as well too. Speaking of guys with big sacks, lots of sacks, whatever. Pause. Yikes. But Tannehill, I think, was also in the 2012 draft too. Let me see, chat. Can we just click on his picture? Oh, yeah. Oh, whoa. No. Tannehill. No, it won't link us to Tannehill there. Okay. We'll need to find Tannehill's name. Where'd he go, chat? Where is Ryan Tannehill? Why is his face so far up the list? Oh, well, chat, I can't read. I guess we could just type it in. I guess it'll... I always forget it'll just show us. Yeah, 2012. So 2012 draft for Tannehill. He was also there. So even if you just say, like, well, I guess even with the careers that Luck and them had or whatever, like, those 5 guys could, you could definitely see a group having some similar production to those 5 guys as well. And maybe hopefully Jay Daniels stays around, for Washington's sake, better than RG3. And not that the future of this quarterback class depends on Caleb Williams, because we've already seen the other guys produce. But if Caleb Williams hits as well too, like we're saying, this is a chance to be one of the real strong quarterback classes that we've seen. But we're seeing those guys play well, and we're just objectively not seeing Caleb Williams play well. Like, as much as he needs help and as much as the Bears need to get their stuff figured out, like, Caleb Williams is going to have to make sure that he is in the film room and he is learning this stuff, because you can just tell Chet he really kind of has no idea what to do. And again, it's kind of as really just as a fan, I hate to say it, and I hate to just be here I hate to wrap up a live broadcast with just porn went all over Caleb Williams, and it's not even to like save face with the Bears franchise. I was just saying that franchise has been so disastrous, and they made bad moves, and we get it. Like, they're not helping him out in either way, and we don't want to defend that team. Poor Billy Buckets. Sorry, buddy. Your lot in life for this football thing was not the greatest, but as I just think it needs to be mentioned, because you need to be honest with your team and your team building going forward. And Billy Buckets was early on this too with Caleb Williams. Like, he was like, hey, I'm not certain I'm totally sold with the type of player that we're getting. And you can see some of the long extended playmaker when it breaks down, and he's looking for, it's just a different thing you're looking for in that situation. I don't think you really have to read the defense in that case. Like, you don't have to know what the coverage is after the play has broken down. I mean, you can know what the coverage was, but at that point, you're literally just kind of looking up and looking for an open guy, and guys are running around. And, I get it doesn't always break into total chaos that way. Like, there are guys sitting into zones, and you roll out a certain way. And, if you're a certain IQ guy, you might know. But like I was saying, you just see Caleb Williams, you can just see the processing is not happening for him at this point. And yes, the Bears need to improve, but the Bears also do have good players. Like, Odunze, I think, could be a fine receiver. Odunze might not be, unfortunately, better than Brian Thomas or, McConkey or some of the other guys that were taken below him in the draft. But, because Neighbors was taken before him, right? Yeah, it was Harrison Neighbors and then Odunze. And then I think Brian Thomas. There wasn't another one that I'm forgetting in there. Brian Thomas was definitely fourth. But, like, Keon Coleman, if Keon Coleman continues to get better as well too. Like, who knows if all these guys end up being better. Like, but he'll be good. Like, the receiving core is fine. We know that. I know their running game could be better. Their defense held the Seahawks to 6 points last night. Like, they played well. We've seen them have moments, and the Seahawks might not be good, but still, they held them to 6 points regardless. So, again, Bears fans, not to end the holiday recap on a bad note, especially after we just sit here and gush about Wembenyama, and Wembenyama gets the win, and, we're feeling great as Spurs fans. The Colts are playing the Giants, so hopefully they just walk out on midfield instead of doing the coin toss. They go, no, we're good. We want Shadur Sanders. We'll just forfeit the game, and you guys can go home. And Anthony Richardson would be the first quarterback to win a game with just going 0 for 0, and somehow the whole team just has no stats. People would blame it on Anthony Richardson, but it would be the Giants that would initiate that. But I hate to do it. I hate to, think of Billy Buckets just sitting in the old apartment, just with his head in his hands, just trying to bear through a Bears game and, watch Caleb Williams, and just to know that this might be what the franchise is just destined to have happen with all these quarterbacks that get brought in there. But again, you have to go back to the time of the draft. And I think, not to do a major retroactive, 12 weeks or 16 weeks or whatever into the Caleb Williams career, but, the generational label had worn off at that point. And the draft is always about timing in the players' narratives as much as it is about their skill. And Caleb Williams was still on enough of that hype train that the generational label could still, I think, be acceptably floated out there. But I think people at the draft were not talking about that. And like we've said before, Jaden Daniels' name was a lot closer than a lot of people give him credit for in the narrative in the retroactive for the draft. And the fact that I think got that close, maybe the trend should have spoken to something as well too. It's like, hey, these quarterbacks are trending in certain directions. So maybe we need to keep an eye out that for this year, because I think going into the draft, like, it wasn't necessarily the highest, and we've seen all the quarterbacks trend down as well too. So the trending has already happened, but like Saunders has trended up this year. Colorado has definitely been better. He's played better. Cam Ward's played better. both those guys have gotten better going into their second seasons. And Shedeur, oh man, people, I'm falling for it again. Shedeur maybe has a little of the same sort of playmaker, bad habit, hold the ball too long type thing, but I think Shedeur is also a little more capable in the pocket as well too. But as we get closer to the draft, we'll continue to watch and break down these guys and, have a, just, I say as we get closer to the draft because that is time that is, yet to be spent on those guys. So I know my opinion will be more informed as we enter, that season. But I think that should about do it for today's episode. Shout out to the new face of the NBA, Victor Wembanyama, matching the Christmas Day win with a much less inspiring, but still as thankful for the win as the other one. Let's be honest, we all love the Christmas Day win better, but every win's a win, and we'll take it. Wemby has 19, 7, and 6. That's the thing, Chad. Even when he has, not maybe the best scoring rebounding game or whatever, that'll be the game when he has the 6 or 7 blocks. It'll be like Wemby with 12 points and 11 blocks, and it's like, whoa! I can see why he didn't need to score. He was just like, well, let's just not let the other team score for this one. 39% from the field. 29% from 3. Are we able to find out at the rim shooting splits real quick for the league this year? I guess we could probably look up what Wemby is doing. Can we check this out? Let's see if we're able to find this on the fly right before we go. But I guess while we're looking this up, we're on the socials, of course, at Rem and Sam Podcast. TikTok. It's TikTok for TikTok. So follow us over there before it gets shut down. We're on Instagram. Of course, we're here on YouTube. We're on the podcast platforms as well, so you can listen and you can watch. Of course, you know that we were early in on the Spotify video game, but you can check out the podcast forms of the live streams over there as well, too. I'm just rambling, Chad. I'm not even paying attention for what I should be looking for. Victor Wembanyama. I should actually just focus. Wemby. Let's see. The Metropolitan 92. Is that where Oscar is at? It didn't actually say. It just said he was on Team France. Okay, and Wemby's at 10 a game for the season. So something about that, just that last couple of game stretch we looked at recently, he wasn't quite at the 10. But let's see. Is it in the defensive dashboard? I forget where all this stuff is located. Yeah, here we go. Less than 6 feet. So this is not necessarily at the rim. Defensive field goal percentage. People are making 50% of their shots around Wemby. 6 feet. Wemby sucks defensively. Oh, well, we needed a humbling note, chat, to end this on. We obviously must not be looking at the right stats. But either way, Wemby's great. Much better than Caleb Williams. And I'd rather have Wemby. I would not trade Wemby for Caleb Williams and the Colts. Let's just put it that way. I'd keep Wemby on the Spurs. I'd keep Anthony Richardson. I'd keep Bryce Underwood going to Michigan. I would keep the sports teams set the way that they are and hope that they can improve going forward. But we will see you guys Sunday as well, too. Only a couple of more live streams in 2024. So stay tuned. Subscribe before the year is over. Jump on the hype train before the year is over, because once you go to 2025, it'll just be a bandwagon. And if you guys join us in 2025, by that time it'll be, the Rem and Sam pod. Everybody's on that, the bandwagon, whatever. All the cool people have already signed up. So, yeah, I think you guys want to sneak it in. Pause before 2024 is over. But I think it's time for a little tea and honey for your boy as we try to fight off the sickness over the weekend. You know that's what happened, chat. You work throughout the week. You can kind of feel, oh, the scratchy throat there. You can kind of feel the chills there. And you just somehow fight it off throughout the work week. Your body just knows you need to pay the bills. And once that immediate clock out from that last shift of the week, you head into the weekend for your little break. It's like immediately you fall apart and you go, oh, I'm sick. I got to go to bed. And maybe it's probably all mental, chat. So we're fighting it off. I know we'll at least be better for Sunday. The thing is, maybe we just need to let it be sick for tomorrow, and then Sunday we'll be chilling for the next live stream. But regardless, subscribe. We'll be back watching games, having a good time. We won't need to be super focused because, like we said, the Colts will be playing the Giants. So I think we can be loopy for that one. But thank you guys for jumping on tonight, and we'll see you next time.